We're going to be starting shortly. I think we should. Good morning. If you would please allow me to take off the mask while I address you. This morning, my name is Mueli Ndaba, and I have the privilege of being the program director for this morning. Welcome to you all. We have quite an interesting program, an exciting program ahead for us this morning. But before we start, maybe just do some formal acknowledgements. We are present here in this hotel room or hotel facility at the courtyard, but we are being joined by other guests online, several media, particularly on YouTube, so we acknowledge you and we greet you as well this morning. Some formal acknowledgements. This morning I'd like to welcome the Minister who is joining us online, any deputies that are joining us, the Advisory Committee within the Ministry, the NSBE President and members of the NEC, past and present, here with us. I'd like to welcome the NSBE members that are joining us as well. We have a couple of them that are joining us online. We welcome you this morning. Distinguished guests that have been invited to come through and celebrate with us 23 years of excellence of black engineering. We welcome you this morning. I hope you've taken the time to meet the people that you are seated with. If not, this is the perfect opportunity. So perhaps slightly greet and introduce yourselves to the people seated next to you. I also wish to remind you to please observe all COVID protocols. We are still within the third wave of this pandemic, so please let's be mindful of that in terms of our actions. There are hand sanitizers provided for on the tables, so please let's make use of those. When you're going in and out of the rooms, please let's also observe social distancing and make sure that our masks remain on, covering both your mouth and your nose. As they would say on those flights, please cover your mouth and nose and breathe easily. Yeah. So thank you so much. If there's anything else during the course of the morning, we will update you. But we do have quite an exciting program, and I'm going to let our president speak to us a bit more in detail about that a bit later. But just perhaps as a formal welcome of the delegates, I'm going to ask Lerato Rapiri, NSBE member, to come and address us. Please, can we give a round of applause as she comes up?
I was brought up to believe that consistency is a key component of any type of success you may be going for. Consistency not just in your actions, but also in your thoughts. I would like to invite you to go back to your 16, 17, or 18-year-old self. So here's the scene. The time has come for you to make a decision as to which career path you would like to take. You have nothing but a few references, maybe a mentor or two, that you've had in your short life to come to this life-changing decision. There is no way of knowing if the decision you make will get you anywhere. Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that you would be where you are now, today? Well, I certainly didn't. Only your thoughts and your actions are the deciding factors of how successful you ultimately become. You are at the mercy of life and all its ups and downs, challenges and successes. When one thought has gained momentum, it presents with it different challenges, and if you're lucky, new opportunities. The journey of life has taught most of us to be versatile enough to bend with change, take the path of least resistance. We can all attest to a time in our career journeys where we came to kiss the feet of a difficult time. Those times of difficulty were merely there to help us grow into greater versions of ourselves, because still we continued to be consistent in our persistence. Now, as we all sit here in this room today, we get to show our younger selves how far we've come. We each have reached places we never thought were possible, big and small. We are all at varying levels of success in our respective career paths. I'm sure we could all agree that hindsight, with its perfect sight, has taught us exactly what my mother has been trying to teach me all these years. Consistency is key. Decisions are made along the way, and sometimes, as life will have it, we have to chop and change, much like the issue to be discussed here today. We need to place ourselves in a position where if one thought has led you to a point, you are versatile enough to bend, to flow, like water. The National Society for Black Engineers is a perfect example of this very concept: consistency in actions and in thoughts. This organization was once a thought, and with action, today we gather here to celebrate its 23 years of existence. It has made many strides in its journey, and hopefully today's gathering will see it fulfilling yet another wild dream. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lerato Rapiri. I'm a chemical engineer. I'm an MBA graduate, a proud member of NSBE, and I'm crazy about progress in all its many forms. Today, as we gather in celebration of our existence as an organization, we continue as best as we know how, and that is with consistency in thoughts and in action. We will not only celebrate, but take a few steps further in having discussions with our esteemed guests in hopes of getting into action that which is driven by what was once a thought. I would like for every individual here today to ponder on how you have previously applied consistency and how you would like to continue applying it going forward in your professional spaces, your organization, and business ventures. May this thought fuel the day's engagements. May there be progress. Before we engage on our topics today, please join me in, as I present a special welcome to the following individuals. The Honorable Minister of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation, who is here to engage, amongst other things, local Black engineers on the role they need to play to implement the National Water and Sanitation Master Plan, Lindiwe Sisulu. Her personal advisors, Ndivuo Mabaya and Advocate Menzi Simelani. Director General for Human Settlements, Mbulelo Tsangana. Acting Director General for Water and Sanitation, Deborah Mchotli. Please help me welcome the entire leadership of Human Settlements and Water and Sanitation Department. Our sponsors, the entire leadership team of the Development Bank of South Africa. Please also help me welcome all the speakers who will be engaging us today as follows. Mdu Mlaba, the NSBE President. Professor Thokozani Majozi, Chairman of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, and a professor at the University of the Witwatersrand. Professor Laki Matebula, CEO of the Think Foundation, and a board member of BPI Advisory, a management consulting firm. Here to represent the Vice President of the Institute of Municipal Engineering of Southern Africa, Sbu Mjara, is Vuyani Xaxama, the National Operations Director of the Institute of Municipal Engineering of Southern Africa, who's also the chairperson of Northern Provinces, which include Northwest, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, and Gauteng. Mohan Vivekanandan, who's the Group Executive of the Development Bank of South Africa. NSBE past presidents as follows. Cyril Gumete, who ran from 1998 to 2002. Mlamuli Buthelezi, who ran from 2002 to 2006. Sipho Madonsela from 2006 to 2012. Sizam Teto from 2012 to 2017. Please also help me welcome the NSBE NEC. Please also help me welcome Andile Nomlala, who is the president of BMF. Please help me welcome all the NSBE delegates who are here today, and everybody else, and the NSBE NEC, and everybody else who's joining us through live streaming. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Lerato. You know, as you were speaking there, please allow me to take this off. I love the poetry that came through, that engineer. I don't know about you, but there's certain stereotypes when it comes to certain qualifications. And I must say, you blew me away there, Lerato, talking about kissing the feet of a difficult time. I almost thought the young people do that's how they do it in these poetry functions. So that was really well done. Thank you so much for inspiring us. And I find that to be quite a consistent theme with these NSBE events, especially now that we're celebrating the 23 years. It is quite inspirational. We are here to be inspired. We are here to be provoked. We are here to be challenged. And there's a lot more ahead of us. It's been 23 years, but there's a further 23 years to come. And I thought, in my little accounting brain, how do I try and fit in with the engineers in this kind of environment? And I thought, maybe I could just crack a joke, an engineering joke. But then I thought I don't know enough about engineering jokes to be able to do so. And I thought, anyway, do engineers have a sense of humor? Okay, there we go. So you definitely do. But consistent in our persistence through thoughts and actions. Thank you so much there, Lerato, for opening up for us. And I think as I said, during the course of the morning, we're going to have a couple of these inspirational moments. Do take something out for yourself. And thank you for the formal welcomes and invitations as well this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to now hand over to our NSBE president, current president, who's going to address us, Mr. Mdum Laba. Please put your hands together as he comes up.
Our keynote speaker, Honorable Minister Lindwe Sisulu, DGs, management team, and staff members of the Department of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation, the National Executive Committee of the National Society of Black Engineers, our past presidents, deputy presidents, and the NSC members of the NSBE. All our NSB members that are here today and the ones that are joining us online, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Before I start with my speech, I'd like us to please observe a moment of silence for Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, as well as our own Job Mabuza, who have just passed on. Thank you. We are gathered here today to celebrate NSBE's 23 years of existence, driving black excellence in engineering, a role that we do not take lightly. The organization was founded in 1995 and was formally launched in 1998 by some of our distinguished guests that are here today, including Prof. Thokozani Majosi, who will be addressing us later on, Caesar Mthethwa, who's also here. I took over from him. Sorry, I think there's an echo there. I don't know if our engineers can please sort it out for us. This is not a time to have an echo. Yeah. Ernest Ngubo, Mr. Mlamuli Buthelezi is also here. Mr. Cyril Kamete, he was supposed to be here. He's tendered his apology because his minister has just called him for an urgent meeting. Also, Mr. T.C. Matigane and Ms. Lucia Sedutla and Mr. Esfiso Nzimande, just to name a few. They founded this organization at the University of Natal. And the organization has grown from strength to strength since then, and we have a national footprint countrywide. We had an opportunity to host NSBE USA at the launch. They visited us and they were part of the launch. And they also came, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. We met them at the University of Cape Town. We, from time to time, have discussions with them. They've been around since 1975. So they exchanged quite a lot of good ideas in terms of how we need to fight the struggle as black engineers. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our past leaders for their selfless contribution and effort to build this organization. Their continued support has assisted the organization to build its brand and define the role and mandate as authentic voice of black engineers. NSBE will continue to exist until the extreme levels of poverty, inequality, unemployment belong to the past and are relegated to the dustbin of history. Because you keep getting asked why at this day and age there's still a need to have an organization like NSBE, the BMF, Black Lawyers Association, and so on. And it's precisely because as a country we have not dealt with these levels of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. I'll touch later about where we stand as a country in terms of unemployment. We are a non-profit and non-racial organization which was established to transform the engineering profession by ensuring full participation of local Black engineers in the mainstream economy, wealth creation and distribution for the greater benefit of Black communities that we come from. Each and every single one of us sitting in this room will tell a story about their community that they come from and how important it is to make sure that as engineers sitting in this room, we make a positive impact to the communities that we come from. Our membership base covers all engineering disciplines, students, young graduates, owners of engineering firms, executives, and seasoned engineers across the country. Our vision is to achieve socio-economic justice for Black communities by unashamedly driving Black excellence and transforming the engineering profession in South Africa. We function as a representative and supportive body on issues and developments that affect the careers of Black engineers. And that's why we're also gathered here today to engage the Minister of Human Settlement. We believe this goal is achievable by partnering with various spheres of government, SOCs, private sector, institutions of basic education, and higher learning. And we do this by engaging in the following activities: promoting public awareness of engineering and opportunities for Black people in the profession, increasing the number of Black students studying engineering at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. You'll recall earlier on when I started the speech and I said this organization was founded by students at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. They were having difficulties with the pass rate. The pass rate was poor, the morale was low, and they decided that they need to take it into their own hands to change the situation. And by uniting and establishing this glorious organization that we are celebrating today. We also strive to increase the number of Black students studying engineering at both undergraduate and postgraduate, increasing the number of qualified Black engineers who are registered with the Engineering Council of South Africa as candidate engineers, professional technologies, and professional engineers. Our engineers enjoy very high recognition at the global stage. And it's important that we recognize that fact as we engage and celebrate our existence today. We are having our engineers all over the world practicing as engineers because we have an organized organization like EXA that regulates our profession. And they are registered with professional bodies internationally, and therefore they enjoy that international status, and we appreciate that. Now, leadership, technical excellence, academic excellence, and mentoring are the hallmarks that define how we as NSBE positively impact the communities that we live in. Supporting NSBE means that you are working towards building a strong legacy of leaders, innovators, and technically skilled citizens that will positively impact our country for generations to come. This breakfast seminar seeks to lay it all bare, but to also provide a platform to constructively engage the minister on the public outcry and anger from our members following the government's decision to insource Cuban engineers, whilst we have competent, capable, and experienced local engineers who are available to assist the Department of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation to deal with the challenges that they are facing. And we're available to be of assistance anywhere around the country. We're from the rural areas, so there are absolutely no qualms in us going to a rural area to work there. It is incumbent of me as a leader of this organization to reflect the anger and the frustration that our members are feeling out there. I will be failing in my duties if I don't express that frustration and anger. The soaring and worsening levels of unemployment rate for Black Africans and youth in particular. The unemployment rate for Black Africans is sitting at 48%, meaning that for every 10 people that are looking for employment, only 5 people are able to find employment. Whereas for youth who are sitting at 75% rate of unemployment, meaning, if you round off, meaning that for every 10 youth that look for employment, 8 of them can't find employment and only 2 find employment. We as engineers are not spared in those numbers. And these numbers, by the way, we are not sucking them out of our thumbs. These numbers were published by the head of State South Africa on the 1st of June this year. We as engineers are not spared. The unemployment rate for technical skills is very high. We're sitting at 12% for qualified engineers. In absolute numbers, you're looking at 16,000 qualified BSc engineers that are sitting at home without employment. If you look at technicians and artisans, the number is sitting at 22% levels of unemployment rate. In absolute numbers, you're looking at 63,000 technicians and artisans who want to make a positive impact, but are sitting at home without employment. And this is indeed a ticking bomb, because this is not sustainable. Our youth will not allow us to continue on this path. They took a stand in 1976, and they will take a stand again if this is not addressed. I have no doubt that we are all of the view that engineers are global citizens and that globalization should be embraced for the advancement of humanity and improvement of the human conditions in every part of the world. However, local engineering community is of the anonymous view that the decision to insource Cuban engineers was purely based on all bilateral relationships that exist between South Africa and Cuba, and that should have been communicated as such to the public. It is absolutely not correct, and it has absolutely nothing to do with lack of skills locally or unwillingness by local engineers to work in rural areas. Our professional engineers are amongst the best in the world, as I've said earlier on. They enjoy international recognition through EXA. Therefore, we are fighting to reclaim our own values and identity. And we oppose any form of globalization process that takes away our right and ability to make our own technical decisions and put our own signatures in our infrastructure in South Africa. The NSBE is fully behind all the initiatives aimed at bolstering the skills capacity of the country. However, following our observations, the NSBE is concerned that 27 years down the line into democracy, our own very leaders that we've elected into government are the ones who now peddle the skills shortage rhetoric to psychologically prepare our people for legitimized marginalization from the mainstream economy. Why is it that our own leaders take us for granted and lack the confidence in us? And that's the question that we want to have answers for. This psychological warfare is very dangerous because it perpetuates self-doubt among us as black people. Self-confessed unreadiness turns us against each other. We are now here fighting amongst ourselves. Why is it that we are not involved in the mainstream economy? There's no need for it. Sanitizes the continued onslaught of black professionals and black businesses, ironically, in our own state-owned companies and our own state organs. It's happening. Our third president was supposed to give us a talk today on the global standing of South African engineers and the international recognition that we're enjoying. He's not here today because he's been suspended. He was suspended this week, and we are keenly interested to know the reasons why he's suspended, and we need to be taken to confidence why he's suspended, because we know his credentials, he's been our president, and we know what he's capable of. So we're keenly interested to find out the reasons for his suspension. But that is a discussion for another day. Here I'm highlighting the fact that we are experiencing onslaught of black professionals, black businesses, and this cannot be tolerated. It needs to come to a stop. It has gone for far too long, and we've had enough. We are also seriously disturbed by all the corruption that is taking place and the tone of the political discourse playing out in the media, which shifts the focus away from dealing with extreme levels of poverty, inequality, and unemployment amongst the poorest of the poor, who vote each and every election with the hope for a better life, but are yet to enjoy the fruits of political freedom that some of our struggle icons paid an ultimate price for us to enjoy today. We can no longer afford to sit on the sidelines, and allow that to happen. We have to take the destiny of our beloved country and that of our future generation into our own hands. Nobody else is going to do it. The time has come for us to do it. We can no longer leave it in the hands of the people that we voted into power, and we are now sitting here asking why they are not involving us in the mainstream of our economy. Minister, I hope you're still with us online. We're hoping to have you here today so that we can have a face-to-face discussion, so that you can see the anger that we are feeling inside. Minister, we are willing to be deployed anywhere in the country. We are available to be of service to your ministry at a reasonable and market-related rate, not a stipend. We went to varsity, our parents paid handsomely for us to get qualifications. We've got families to feed, so we're not here to talk about stipends. There are rates that are published by EXA, and we expect our engineers to be paid according to those rates. We want to go to the Val with you, Minister, to understand your challenges there and make proposals to you to fix those challenges that we are having there. Any district municipality that says it can't find engineers will help those district municipalities to find engineers. They are there in big numbers. We issued a notification in our digital platforms after this Cuban matter came up, and we're inundated with CVs. I woke up this morning preparing to come to this seminar, and I got an email in my inbox from an engineer. It's Peter, I don't have the phone now. I would have read the message out to you and stated what the name of the engineer is. He's sitting at home and he's saying, please tell the minister that I'm sitting at home without work, and she's hired engineers from Cuba instead of hiring me to do the work that the Cubans are here to do. Please relay that message. Now, I'll be failing on that NSBE member if I do not say that on this platform. Look, we can explore the option of placing 2 young graduate engineers and technicians per district municipality at an agreed fee per month for the next 2 years. These resources will be properly managed, trained, and mentored by our experienced engineers to maintain the water and sanitation infrastructure. In this room, we've got Mr. Patrick Masowo, who is one of the very, very first black engineers to design a dam and a bridge. He was involved in the Lesotho Highlands project in the early 90s. Highly, highly experienced. He's sitting at home without employment when he could be helping us train our young engineers and getting them ready for a registration with EXA. I wanted the minister to see him so that when we talk like this, I don't want it to appear like we're talking hot air and we've got nothing to show for it. We came with evidence to show the minister that the people exist. You know, like when we got our freedom in 1994, early 90s, we could accommodate excuses of saying we do not have experienced black engineers to do what needs to be done to get this country out of poverty, to deal with inequality, and to deal with high unemployment. That cannot be said 20 years into democracy. That's why we are saying we cannot allow it to happen. Now, Minister, we can also use our experienced engineers to conduct a technical skills audit at all these district municipalities on your behalf. These highly competent engineers can make this happen. It's not like we here, we haven't smoked anything. We're sober, and we have those people. They're available. We are aware, Minister, that there are properties and buildings that are currently being handed over to the Department of Human Settlements from SOCs like ESCOM, Transnet, and Sanral. We have engineers in our database who are qualified, and we have project managers that can rehabilitate those buildings and make them useful. We can maybe use them for student housing. We've got students that are crying that they don't have accommodation, they're disrupting the starting of the university program because they don't have anywhere to stay. Here's Prof. Majosi here from VETS. He can testify to that. Now, Minister, there's another issue which involves vandalism of infrastructure. It's a huge problem. I'm from the railways, we experience it as well in the railways. We'll work with local communities to upskill and get them to take ownership of that infrastructure. We have a positive posture towards genuine local business forums that, and we do not regard them as people who are mad, people who don't know what they want. Just like us, we want to be involved in mainstream economy, so as they. We need to qualify it though. We don't support the crowd that is committing crime and burning equipment on site. That's I qualify. Here I'm talking about genuine local business forums. We want to work with those people because if you give work to those people, you uplift the local community. It cannot be that, for example, we come and build a railway line or we come and build a road in the local community and we bring people from far away and they come and do the project and they leave the community without having made any positive impact to that community. That is not acceptable in our view. So we will work with your ministry, Minister, to make sure that we embrace the local people as well as the local business forums in executing the projects that need to be done in their local communities. We understand that they simply want to be involved and they have legitimate demands to be part of this mainstream economy of this country. We are tired of being on the sidelines and pushed aside. Minister, unlike others, when this whole Cuban matter came to surface and there was a lot of controversy around it, unlike others, we did not bash you. We did not insult you. We did not ridicule you in public via the media. I, for one, I was interviewed on radio stations and on national TV. Despite all the pressure that I was getting from the members, I maintained my cool and I maintained respect because we want to work with you. And we are pleased that when we reached out to you, we met you in Sentin, you reciprocated. Sorry, my English is escaping me. You returned the favor. You were polite to us. You asked us to join us the following day when we went out to Port Elizabeth, to the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality to get a glimpse of the challenges that you are having there and the kind of help that you need from us. So we are not going to take you to court like others are taking to court, Minister. Our posture towards you has been respectful and understanding of your challenges, despite all the anger and frustration that we are feeling inside. We want to be part of the solution, and we would like you to point out to us where you would like us to help you. We do not want today to be just another talk shop where we come here and talk. I got a bit hot under the collar during the week. Our Deputy President will tell you, and one or two NSBE members will tell you when we're in a meeting with some of the staff members of the ministry, where today was deemed to be just a day for us to get together and chat, and then, we say goodbye, and, that's the end of it. That's not the idea why you are here. We've had a lot of nice talks, nice laughs. We are not here for that today. We want an MOU between NSBE and your department because we know you've got challenges and you need help. And insourcing skills from outside of the country is not sustainable. I mean, the previous minister of water and sanitation brought the Cuban engineers. I forget the name. It was Minister. Yeah, Minister Nomvula Nonkunyana. She brought Cuban engineers. We do not know what they did. There was no report of what positive impact they made in their stay here and whatever they got paid to be here. And now we've got a second batch. We still don't know what they're here to do exactly and how they're going to be measured to make sure that they add value. Like I said earlier on, engineers are global citizens. We do not want to come across as being xenophobic because we have our engineers working elsewhere as well, and I don't want them to get ill-treated because of any misconception that may come up out of this discussion today. We understand that, but we need to be clear and we need to be sure that the benefit is mutual. It shouldn't be a one-way street. We should also benefit. We should also send our engineers. By the way, our engineers are more experienced when it comes to water and sanitation matters. We actually want to go to Cuba and help Cubans because they have water load shedding that we do not have. So we want to help them to deal with their challenges. And that's how we define a mutual relationship. It mustn't be one way. You need help from us, we'll give it to you. Look at our doctors. You know how much respect our doctors used to command. The first doctor who made a heart transplant operation, what's his name again? Chris Barnard. You know how much the apartheid government, how much noise they made about Chris Barnard throughout the world? They made a huge noise, and that's how the medical profession got the respect that they got. Now of late, we bring Cuban doctors, and in bringing the Cuban doctors, we distort the reason why we bring them here. And then in the process, that's my view, you can correct me, we discredit our own doctors and we dent, in my view, the professional standing and the international image that our doctors command. So we as engineers, we're standing up because we do not want to suffer the same consequences. We want to make it clear in terms of where we stand, and we need to be recognized for that. So as I said earlier on, we were expecting an MOU between us and the ministry, and that MOU will be used as an ideal vehicle in this regard to have something tangible to show our members as an outcome of this engagement, because some of us had to deal with being ridiculed, that we're too nice, we minister's lapdog, or maybe we want to eat with the minister, and all those kind of things that come up. And I just want to make it very clear that none of that is true. Whatever that is going to come out of this engagement is for the greater good of South Africa. We are not here for our own personal gain, or we're not going to be the lapdog of the minister. Or we're here for the greater benefit of our people. We are in the process of establishing a human settlements, water and sanitation subcommittee under the leadership of Hope Mashele. Hope, please stand up. There's Hope there. Hope is a seasoned engineer. He's been around for long. He's very experienced. And he's going to be leading this team of engineers, experts in the field, to implement this MOU with the ministry. So it's going to be a dedicated team that is going to be on an ongoing basis, servicing the ministry. We don't want a situation where the minister says, this guy's made a lot of noise. They called me in for a breakfast, and they told me all of the good things that they can do for me. I gave them an opportunity. Now they are letting me down. Now I'm going back to my Cubans. No, we don't want that. That's why we're taking the step that we're taking to make sure that as we enter into this MOU, we want to see a positive outcome of that. We want to use it as an example, wherein we want to send a very clear message to South Africans that if you want to work with the government, you do not always have to resort to burning tires on the road, to insulting our leaders in government. Take the route that we've taken, and you will see things are going to happen. So that's how we're reaching out to you, Minister. The ball, Minister, is now on your court to then tell us what is your response to the offer that we're making to you. Please give us something. We have been nice to you. We've taken a lot of bashing from our members. Oh, the echo is coming. Someone is it's echoing what I'm saying. Oh, that's good. I like that. All right. So I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to pause for the button to be pressed. I don't like this echo. Okay, it's gone. Right, I'm towards the end of the speech. I trust that the deliberations of today shall be frank, like I hope I was. I hope I was frank and disciplined. And we want the deliberations to observe a proper decorum, and there shall be tolerance for each other's honest views, because I'm sure the minister has got her own views, the minister and the team. They probably have their own views about us as local engineers, and we welcome any frank and honest views that they have so that we can fix our blind spots if we have any blind spots. So in them giving us that honest view and frank view about us, we can assure them that in the room we are educated people, and as such we do not anticipate any festival of chairs. We don't expect anything of that nature to happen. We're not going to see any chairs flying around. So we'll take criticism and we'll take it on board. So delegates and people live streaming, I welcome you and trust that we'll have successful deliberations today. I thank you.
Thank you so much, President. We really appreciate that. Thank you. You can see we are sanitizing everything. I'll take this off again. Again, thank you, Mr. President, for that address. Just to summarize it, I think it was one which was sobering. It was challenging. It was a humbling presentation, yet it was also very encouraging. It was a passionate plea, I would say, of engagement, one of commitment, of qualified, capable, competent, and qualified professionals who are willing to be part of the solution, not just the problem. And I think that's what is represented here, and I think that, in summary, how I would capture it. So thank you so much, President, for addressing us on that. I'm now going to call upon Professor Thokozani Majozi, the chairperson of the CSIR, as well as a lecturer at WITS, a member of the NEC, to come and address us. Please come up, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. By the way, I do have a mask. You know, I see people always declare they come with the mask and they remove it. I do have a mask. It's just I forgot. It's on my table. Honorable Minister of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation, Umama Lindiwe Sisulu, the advisors from the ministry who are here, both here and online, DGs, and all the representatives from the ministry, the president of the NSBE, Mr. Mdumlaba. I always say Mdu to me. It feels very strange to say Mr. Mdumlaba because you always say Mdu. Mr. Mdumlaba and the past presidents, by the way, who are here, Mlamuli Buthelezi, Mr. Buthelezi, and Mr. Sizam Tetwa, the members of the NEC, of the NSBE, who are here, all the distinguished guests from all the sectors and walks of life. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And it's always a pleasure, by the way, to be part of this engagement. And it's true, we've come a long way with this organization, and it does look like there is light at the end of the tunnel. And of course, through a lot of capable leadership. My topic this morning is really one that I accepted without really interrogating it fully, because the title is Work Readiness of South African Engineers, or, well, yeah, Work Readiness of South African Engineering Graduates, put it that way. When I started dissecting it, I realized actually it's not as simple as it sounds, because there's one thing that we always do, and I find this even among ourselves as engineers, that we just say engineers as if engineers are your typical doctors or lawyers or accountants for that matter, when actually the engineering fraternity is highly stratified. You've got electrical engineers, mining engineers, agricultural engineers, chemical engineers, and so on. In South Africa, we've got 9 recognized engineering disciplines by EXA, all of them with their own challenges. So there's danger in saying these are engineering problems, because they might not actually be engineering problems. They might be problems for a particular discipline within engineering. We seldom ever do that. With doctors, you can say so. With lawyers, you can say so. With accountants, you can say, but not with engineers. So when you say work readiness of engineers, that is a very complex problem to dissect, because the problems of chemical engineers might be different from the problems of, say, electrical engineers and the like. I'm a chemical engineer, by the way, so you might find a bit of bias in my talk. I keep on saying chemical engineers all the time. But I'm talking about engineers in general. It is true that the engineers that we produce are world-class engineers. There's no doubt about that, because we have some of the world-class institutions in the country, well-recognized. And of course, we have that element of benchmarking, which is done regularly by by EXA. But when it comes to readiness, we also have to be careful, and there's another variable that comes into play here when we talk about readiness. The level of readiness of our undergrads, for example, is not the same as the level of readiness of our postgrads, who are also engineers. That's another variable. What has become very clear over the years, and this is in the very recent past, is that during my years when I finished my degree, having a degree, BSc, was an overqualification. We were highly qualified if you had a bachelor's degree at the time. It was a big achievement. Today, having a BSc is no longer the right qualification. You must have a master's at least. That is almost adequate. And the reason for that is very simple. It's because the very key disciplines, or I would say skills, that we need today are not part of the undergraduate curriculum. If you want someone, for example, who will optimize a process from the fundamental principles using what you call mathematical programming and all these new technologies, that doesn't happen at an undergraduate level. It happens at a postgraduate level. So the degree of readiness of someone who has a postgraduate degree is not the same as the degree of readiness of someone with an undergraduate degree. That is another variable that we always have to take into account. Every time I talk to my students and everyone that I get a chance to advise, I say to them, always go for a master's if you can. This is about the minimum that you can go for now. If you can, do your master's degree and then go out there, because that exposure is really unraveling, in my opinion. And we see it day in, day out, the level of confidence and the understanding of how much you do not know. You know, the biggest blind spot I had when I finished my undergraduate degree, I thought I knew everything, because I had done about 40 odd courses, mass transfer, heat transfer, this and this, all of them. I thought I had covered it all. It was when I went on to do a master's and a PhD that I realized how much I did not know. And that revelation is very important. The space that you are comfortable with versus the space that you actually know bits and pieces about. That distinction is very, very, very important. I must confess, Mr. President, that I was partially paralyzed by your speech, because it was really touching at the core of the problem. I just want to emphasize that all these issues that are being raised here, and we're very, very eloquent in really dissecting this problem, the way it ought to be dissected in terms of the numbers of engineers that we have who are sitting at home. At any given point in time, just to lend credence to what has just been said, I'm sitting with at least 6 CVs of engineers or engineering graduates who graduated from one of the best institutions on the continent, Wits University. At any given point in time, I can give you the names, and sometimes I feel embarrassed because some of my students think I have this power that I don't have, of putting them and giving them jobs. You know, I do my best. As you heard, I'm the chairperson of the CSIR, and there are quite a few that I've really placed at the CSIR because I have a good working relationship with the CEO of the CSIR. And also I work a lot with industries like the Sasols and Sabi. I've tried my best to place them there as well. But there is a saturation point. There's a point beyond which you just cannot do this. So I'm sitting with these CVs at any given point in time. These are highly qualified people. Let me say something that perhaps we also don't talk about openly. It is seldom that someone would opt for engineering under normal circumstances and say, I just want to go and do an engineering degree for fun. It is very seldom. I'm not sure about the other degrees, maybe music. I'm not taking anything away from music. But engineering has a reputation of being one of the very difficult and really punitive degrees that you can have. I mean, those of you who were with me at varsity, like Caesar here in Tetwa, were together at varsity, will tell you the torture that you had to go through for a number of reasons. It's a torturous degree. You don't wake up in the morning and say, I want to do engineering degree. You do it because you really love it and you want to make a difference. It must be very disappointing then, at the end of all that exercise, to discover that you cannot get employment. But also go beyond that, not just at a personal level. Those of us who come from the township, I'm from Guamashu, and I remember very well that when I grew up, there was a label for me. People used to undermine education in my township. They used to call it student. When I came, oh, now it's a student. You know, really, you know. Now, Think about a situation where this person who has worked that hard is sitting at home with the same people who are saying NAS student. What does it do to the community? Now, that is the extent of the problem that we're talking about. So, I must say that the vigor in the tone of the president was justified, and what must be understood is that we are all in this together. In other words, the clamor that you hear is really for us to find common grounds, because I have no doubt that fundamentally our objectives are actually connected. And I would say that if you look at, say, becoming more specific now, coming much closer to home, water and sanitation, that particular sector is one sector that I believe can make a huge difference in closing the gap that we're talking about. Government, I raise it because it is clear that the intentions are positive. These are the same intentions we harbor as NSBE, because when we formed NSBE, from its conceptual phase, when we implemented it, we launched it in 1998, through all the times till now, At the heart of NSBE, it is to improve the lives of ordinary people by giving engineers a chance to do what they do best. That's what NSBE wants to do. This is very much in line with what the government seems to be doing. So we are really together. We are not fighting. We just have to find this common ground and exploit all these synergies fully. And it is true that with this capable leadership of the NSBE, in Mr. Mdumlaba, after all his predecessors, and the capable leadership of our minister, something is going to come out of this. That is going to be long-term and not short-term. We've had engagement with government, by the way, as NSBE, and most of them have tended to be very temporary or ad hoc at best. But I want to say that this is now the opportunity for us to have a long-lasting relationship with government, relationship that is premised on doing good for ordinary South Africans. So I'll end there for now and say thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I see we've got more than height in common. We're both from KZN, except that we're Nwagwamash. Mina ngwasemlas. So there was always a tension, I think there still is tension between those two, Umash and Umlazi. But you raise a very critical point here when you speak about work readiness, and I know you didn't go into a lot of depth as much as you would have liked to on the topic, time allowing, but the issue of skills and discipline, I think certainly when you look at work readiness, those two things are key. What skills and what discipline do you bring into the work environment? And I think that it's beyond current skills, but it's about the discipline to keep learning. And I think I remember reading a quote that says that the illiterate will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. It really is a continuous process, and you coming from the academic environment would be very familiar with that. But it's very disheartening to see the stats of our young people and to hear of their grievances, particularly with regards to having gone the journey, made the sacrifices, sat at the desk, sat the exams, and then to find themselves without opportunities for employment. And I think at a later stage, we really need to have a conversation around what we mean by employment, because this is a global phenomenon. It's not just uniquely South African, it is a global phenomenon, but there's an issue there about choosing the careers and professions and qualifications that we do and the underlying purpose for which we choose to study and to pursue those qualifications. I think is quite a key one. But let me not bore you with my own philosophical thoughts. I'm going to ask Dr. F.M. Laki Matebula to come up. This is the CEO of the Think Foundation, as well as BPI Advisory Board member, to come up and share a few words with us. I think he'll be talking to us about the role of the NSBE in the socio-economic transformation of South Africa. Thank you. Let's give him a hand as he comes up.
I'm also declaring. We are on YouTube. We need to show the country what is correct under the circumstances. Otherwise, people start thinking that all of us here are not wearing masks by just seeing me here. So I have to come with it. But thank you, President of the NSBE, for inviting me to talk on this difficult subject of socio-economic transformation. It is one of the most emotional subjects in this country. It now has a casualty in the CEO of the ANC, the way socio-economic transformation, it's an important thing. There's a casualty already of a senior member of the governing party. He's out. So we need to also tread as careful as we should so that we reflect properly what do we mean when we say socio-economic transformation and the role of engineers. Minister of Human Settlements, Honorable Lindiwe Sisulu, Mama Sisulu, Sis Lindiwe. I'm using these terms deliberately because the people that are talking to you today, abobhuti wakho, abantwana bakho, abomzala bakho, and they are not coming to you to your title only, but they're also coming to your breast as a woman to say, can we find milk in you as engineers, as black engineers? I just wanted to take it to that emotional level so that when she speaks, she understands that amongst you here, there are people that can be his sons, her daughters. There are people that can be his brothers, her brothers, her cousins. There are people that can be, if life allowed, some of you could be her husband, you know? So it's something that is not impossible. So I wanted to bring that part of her into this meeting and not be apologetic about that. I'm going to, before I talk what I've written, because this is a controlled thing, so that I can go back to it. I want to give you 3 stories which are important. And these stories, they came as Mdu was speaking. And I almost felt like I can stop saying what I prepared and only talk about those stories. In 1998, there was a meeting between Zola Square, Sibusisoville Ngomo, the late Professor Sangweni, and a number of people, and they were talking about how to change the discipline of public administration in the country in the 90s. And in that meeting, they took a decision that they need to create the next phase of people that are going to play a role in that discipline. And that's the discipline that I'm qualified in. And I was fortunate to be one of the people that were around those old people and listened to them as they were talking. And we were given an assignment to establish a professional association. And this professional association, its objective was to produce the next generation of professors and doctors in public administration. One of the first things that we had to deal with, and I want to say that to you, that is where the base wealth and the base template is, was to deal with the capture of the Journal of Public Administration in South Africa. Because if you don't control the outlets through which you write knowledge about your profession, the people that control it, they actually define what your profession ultimately becomes. Because everybody that studies engineering cites people in that journal and by extension puts those people into posterity of the profession. It was a big battle. It was one of the biggest battles in there because when you deal with public administration journal, you are actually dealing with how the state must change. And we took a long view of that, and then the journal, we even went to court and the journal was won, and that journal was taken over and it was managed by black editors, a black editorial committee, and a black editorial board. And since that journal was launched in the way it is. We removed the most important thing that stops transformation in a profession, gatekeeping of what you think about that discipline. And today, after those about 10 years or so, because it's not a short-term journey that we are taking, after 10 years, the Minister of Public Administration announced 2 weeks ago or last week a team of South Africans that are going to deal with the professionalization of public administration in the country. And the chairman of that and convener of that is Professor Herbert Masirumule, who has been the editor of that journal for the past 6 years or so. And since we took over that journal, there has been a proliferation of black professors in the field of public administration, to an extent that universities are combining the faculties of public administration, politics, and whatever, and making them one faculty to manage the appointment of these black professors as heads of departments and deans, so that they can then take people that are outside of the discipline who they want to still keep and keep the gatekeeping. Because if we have black deans that are running universities, we will control the output of what happens in a society. And that is the transformation we must also focus on as engineers. We're making a lot of money in projects. You used to, if you are still, just put 3% of that and put it in a fund and give it to people like Prof here to establish an independent journal and run that journal and make the projects that you are doing, what you did at Lesotho, should have been written into a journal which is peer-reviewed so that the world knows you beyond what Mdu is telling us. But you are cited in China, you are cited in Indonesia, you are cited because you are in a journal. That is the transformation that you can be respected. Because other races are controlling us because they are cited in very important journals that they control. I thought I must tell this story first, to say transformation is not just about getting the minister to do something else. It's not just about that. It's bigger than that, because all of you very soon will be at an age where you need to write all these things that you are dealing with. Where are you going to write them? Because you have not established an outlet for you to talk about that. I'm just imagining, where is the Mavela Dlamini experiences of Gauteng when Mavela was the city engineer that was responsible for the 2010 infrastructure and did Orlando Stadium on time, on budget, and what. But I'm not sure if I can find that in any accredited journal that people can read about it. Where are you in terms of the Gautrain, the things that were done in the Gautrain? It's flighted in the world as one of the global mega structures that have happened. It's shown on National Geographic and all other places, but I don't see you being written there in the footprint of that. You either choose to be written about, or you write about what you saw, so that you are cited in the world. So that's the first form of transformation that I want to talk about before I deal with this thing. So this social impact, this social compact that we are talking, that you need to have with the minister, it must be a social impact that actually deals with the deficit of apartheid. So that we take that deficit of apartheid, because there's a big deficit of apartheid. We take that deficit and make it an opportunity. And the Department of Water Affairs has the greatest of deficits of apartheid. Our people don't have water, our people don't have sanitation, our people don't have clean water, our people don't. So the biggest, they don't have housing, they don't have all those things. So the biggest deficit of apartheid lies with this minister. And therefore, his department is two things that we need. It is engineering intensive, the most engineering intensive department, as the professor has said, because all aspects of engineering, you find them in that department. But it is also the most intensive in terms of engineering deficit. That's the first story I wanted to tell. The second story I want to tell, maybe let me use my story to say the things that I'm saying here. The second story that I wanted to tell is that in 1 year, sometime in my history, I used to work at correctional services. I was in prison with a brown uniform. And I was in prison, but with a brown uniform, not an orange. And when I was there in prison, Leokop, not far. Where is Leokop? Not far, here. Yeah, in Leokop. I was a commander of Leokop prison. And when I was there, I came in there not because I was a correctional services officer, but I'm one of these people that were deployed into government or that came into government without the base experience of what happened. And I went there, and then some people said, okay, you must go to a prison and understand what is going on. We're giving you local prison, go and be a commander there. When I arrived there, I wanted to know what can I do that will not show that I know nothing about a prison. I wanted something like that. Then I consulted people, and then one old man came to me and said, Lucky, the best thing that you can do to understand the prison, release prisoners out of the prison so that they go and work in the fields. Now, what does that do when you do that? It immediately gives you a sort of questions, and one question was, if I take them out of the cells and they go and work in the field, they need to be classified in terms of security grading. So I need to classify them. I need to make sure that the compound has proper security. The dogs must be right. The security guys must be right. The tools for them to work are right. Everything that you need, that you can take the prisoners needs to be. So the whole prison, incidentally, I found that it was centered around this prisoner becoming the cost driver or the activity driver. And I learned from there that at any point that I have to deal with a transformation thing, I need to say, what is that thing in a transformation process that when I hit on that thing, everything else will actually fall in line. For you engineers, in South Africa now, the president is talking about economic recovery. We don't know what he means, but we know he's saying it. Now, that economic recovery that the president is talking about, everything about the economy finds its base with an involvement of an engineer somewhere. Do you agree with me? An engineer has got to be involved somewhere. If you want to use infrastructure to lead an economy, an engineer must design, must structure, must implement, must do all those things. If you want to do industrialization, an engineer must go and make sure that the factories are built. If anything that you want to do, engineers are at the base. This tells us that engineers are actually the people that are sitting inside opportunities that are so many. But in this country, the DBSA, IDC, and other such financing institutions, they have money that gets rolled over year in, year out. Because the expectation in society is that the people that are out there that are entrepreneurs are the ones that must apply for this money for Black Industrialist Program and whatever and whatever. Then after they've applied the money, then they come, they hire you to come and do those things. What if, as engineers, we start thinking about this thing the other way and say, we come up with business plans that we go to these institutions and say, you have a Black Industrialist Program, we've got this solution as engineers that can start industries. If you look at what has happened in China, China mechanized around the needs of the Chinese. There was a primary industry of agriculture, and out of that primary industry of agriculture, a lot of their mechanization started there. There was a primary industry of other things, and mechanization started there. If you go to places like Hong Kong before China took it, you look at all those skyscrapers that are lying there. Some of the skyscrapers, we think it's human beings that are living there, when it's actually pig farms. You know, pig farms that are 10 stories high and everything. And those pig farms, except the pig and the food of the pig, everything about that farm is engineering. The water to go there, the ventilation to go there, the structure the way it is, the abattoirs on the bottom floors, and all those things is engineering. Now, we have money in this country that gets rolled over unless they're lying us, unless they're lying to us that the money is there. If you look at IDC, you look at DBSA, unless they're lying us, they're just putting numbers on their balance sheet, there's no money in there. But if it's true, the money that they are saying is not being used and whatever has got to be redeployed, we here as engineers must sit down and say, how do we repurpose some of the buildings? Mdu spoke about buildings that SOEs are giving to the Department of Human Settlement and all those things. You convert those buildings into pig farms that are highly mechanized. You convert them into vertical farms that are highly mechanized. If you can drive to Pretoria on Lanewood Road, I'm challenging you, those that can drive on the weekend. Yes, on Lanewood Road, after you pass Silver Lakes, you go on to the east. On the, I don't know my left and right, that's why I did not do engineering. But on your right-hand side, facing east, there's a building there, it's called Ken Agri. It's a vertical farm, hydroponic, done by white engineers and white architects. They are supplying the lettuce that we eat. Yeah, the lettuce that we eat in Woolworths, Pick and Pay, and everything. They are there, those guys. They took their engineering skills. When I asked them, is this a farm or what? They said, no, this is not a farm. It is an engineering project with lettuce as an output. You hear what I'm saying? They're not calling it a farm. They are calling it an engineering project with lettuce as an output. They are raising money now. They have built the same thing in Namibia. They got money from the Saudis. They are now on a global roadshow trying to put that in. That will be the next Sasol in terms of food production because they are studying how to do other crops out of that. It's happening here, and when I looked at it, everything about that thing, it's civil engineer, all other engineering, and the lettuce that is there. There's no farmer there, except that they've put water to do that, and then the lettuce gets out of there. These are the things that black engineers need to start thinking about beyond expecting from government to build things. Lastly, when we talk about, my story, and this one is goodbye. It's going to take 3 minutes, MC. The maggots. You know maggots? You know maggots? Maggots are animals whose life starts when another animal has died. You agree with me? There must be one animal that died so that there must be a maggot. And the maggot starts getting life on the back of a dead animal. And once that maggot eats out what can be eaten out of a dead animal, it also dies unto that. But in eating this animal, there are aspects of that animal that a maggot cannot eat and finish. And those are the bones of an animal. And those bones, why it cannot eat them, is because the bones are calcified and cannot be eaten by a maggot. And that calcified nature of the bones normally ends up being the evidence what animal had died here when we want to find out. It's either it's a skeleton, it's a human being, that's why today the paleonto, whatever, and the archaeologists, they tell us about human life millions of years because they find the bones that are there to prove that is it. Now, if you take that metaphor, in South Africa at the moment, our economy looks like it is dying. But we need to make a choice that as engineers, are we calcified enough that the maggots that are eating our economy cannot eat us, so that we stay on as the evidence that there was thinking in this country that can be used to build infrastructures. The maggot that I've seen practically is in the Cape waterfront. I was telling the guys here that in the Cape waterfront, there's a silo there that was written off as a stranded asset. And that silo has been converted into a 5-star hotel. And that hotel, I've slept in it, and that thing has been repurposed. The question is, you as black engineers, in your marginalized nature, wherever you are you eaten by the maggots that are getting into our SOEs, into government, into everything? If you are the flesh of engineering, you are going to disappear because these maggots are going to eat you. But if you are the bones of engineering, they will eat the flesh. And who's the flesh? The flesh are the people that come, agree with the maggots to eat, and pass. But the bones will be there. And the Bible says, Matambo Shanganani, and do something about this profession. Thank you, Mdu. I hope my story set my table.
Siyabonga Bhakabhaka. Speaking of Matambo Hlanganani, ahlangena Matambo. And I did mention this at the start of the presentations today, that there would be key nuggets that would come from this platform. And I'm hoping that you picked up what was said there. You know, there's different types of presentations that one receives and that one sits through. And sometimes it's bullet form, it's the intro, the body, and the conclusion. What we've just had now were 3 stories, each with an underlying theme and a key point to take out. And I hope that you've taken the time to sift out for yourself what was being said today. But that last statement, or the last story, really spoke to me. And there's an underlying and an undertone, and I think I picked up what was being said. But maggots, imbetu, we call them ngesiZulu imbetu. It says their life starts when another one ends. And that to me speaks of opportunity. When we talk about the opportunity within human settlements, within water and sanitation, and the engineering intensity required for that particular field, and right here before me and online, we've got the solution. What more do we need? Another statement that was made was the response to the issues that we see around us, expecting others to address whether it be political platforms or entrepreneurship, when we have the brains and the capabilities within engineering. I really like that twist of saying, stop looking to entrepreneurs to drive the economic agenda, but look at the engineering aspects, look at the qualifications to drive the economic activity and the economic recovery in any country. And I think that was quite key. I never knew that about the pigs in China, you know, and I think it's further reading for myself, because we've got all of these models of change and transformation that we've seen, and we can adopt from them. And then finally, the first one, to take you back to the first one, was the issue of journaling, to say that unless we are writing our own story, whilst others are writing the story of African transformation and the African journey, we will never get the full recognition and the progress that we see or that we seek to have. Let us start writing and journaling. When I carried this little black book, I mean, I'm a MC by profession, so I do quite a few events, but in this book, some of the nuggets that I've picked up, and I don't do this because he's student, where's prof? But there's something about learning and the grasping of knowledge, writing something down. When you pen something, the clarity that comes from the thought as you pen something down, that you can't match it. Yes, you'll remember some of the points, but let's get into the habit, even within our own areas of influence, to journal and write our own story. And we will then see the progress and the transformation that we seek. Mr. President, there's a special request, and I will honor it. It's to have our Deputy President of the NSBE, Ulwazi Goqwana, to say a few words to us before we move on to our next speaker. So Ulwazi, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as our Deputy President comes up to address us.
Honorable Minister and the distinguished guests, all protocol is observed. I've been requested by our members to put a very clear value proposition for NSBE. What exactly are we offering to the Department of Water and Sanitation? Before I do that, I would like to project. Let's go to the slide of the background, whoever is controlling. So, as the President has said, we had the honor of joining the Minister in the last few months to understand the challenges that exist in water and sanitation. The Minister gave us an opportunity to have a look at the National Water and Sanitation Master Plan. I'm not sure how many of us here have seen that plan. We believe it's an excellent document. It's a document that was conceived and finalized in 2018. However, we are in 2021 today, and we are seeing very little evidence of any execution of that plan. Minister, we are saying it's ready. We want to execute this plan. It's been sitting and collecting dust in the document somewhere. We sat with the Minister, as the President has said, in Sentin, and the Minister outlined the challenges to us, one of them being the aging infrastructure. She mentioned how, if you look at the presidential infrastructure plan, they are planning for our highways. At the same time, they're planning our infrastructure, and the two are very in different areas. And the Minister is saying, you cannot manage the two, one at such a high level and one at such a low level. There's the issue of vandalism of infrastructure, which Ntu has mentioned. So when we sat with the Minister and the Mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay, the Minister requested the Mayor to put a community center. The Mayor said, Minister, if we put it now, it will be stolen. So I didn't understand, what do you mean the community center will be stolen? The mayor said, in fact, the kind of things we notice here is that you wake up and the community center is not there. I said, how is that possible? They said they actually steal it brick by brick. So when you talk vandalism, we not talk the small crimes. We talk about that scale of disruption and destruction of our properties. Then there's a drought. I'm sure a few of us know today that Gqeberha is facing day zero if nothing drastic is done. So we need to be saying, what are the options we need to bring as engineers? Again, sitting with the teams, they will notice the issues and the problems they have in the execution of projects. Money gets allocated to municipalities, and there's court case after court cases, and the project right stands still. We looked at after getting all the water with all of the issues that we mentioned, only 44%, there's 44% of water that is unbillable, which means from all the bulk water that is supplied, 60%, only 60% is accounted for. And there's 30% wastage of water. So we need to be saying, what solutions do we bring in to make sure that whatever water is collected, we're able to use? And then we notice about the challenges that the municipalities are having in restricting the usage of water, the wastage in people who are consuming the metered water. We noted again, Minister, how as a result of the shambles that you've seen in some of the municipalities, that as a Department of Water and Sanitation, you've taken over those municipalities, and that you need capacity within your own department to run those municipality water infrastructures. We see on TV, for example, with sewer flowing in the streets. The last one, we've seen some good examples where there's 31,000 leaks that the Nelson Mandela team has worked on, including students as part of that program. So that's just some of the background and the challenges on the sanitation and water program. But let's go straight to the key propositions. If you can, yeah. So what you're saying is that we want to simplify this to really three things that NSBE can assist the Water and Sanitation Department. The first one is the engineering capacity. And I want to stress with local and access engineering skill. The President has mentioned a few thousands BSc graduate engineers who are sitting at home stranded whilst we're having these challenges that we've mentioned. So we are saying we want to provide that capacity. And number two is a training program. What we are saying is that as we resolve the challenges, we want to use that opportunity to build skills, to develop capacity, not only for our country, but for longer term. I remember in the 90s, when we started our engineering at Unilever, there were these artisans. They were so good at problem solving. When you trace back, where did they get the skill? In fact, it was from our SOEs, Transnet, Eskom, in the 70s and 80s, when they started with the infrastructure rollout, building of the new power stations, 20,000 kilometers of railway lines. So when you introduce that infrastructure, you create an opportunity to develop skill. That skill today that was developed in the 70s and 80s, it was used to pump SAB, Unilever, Nampak, Consol. So the manufacturing sector, which became globally acclaimed in the country, you traced back from the SOEs who are doing those infrastructures. There's power stations that are aging today at 40 years old, the railway infrastructure that's aging. So in fact, Minister, what you are saying is that the infrastructure super cycle is now in the second part of the wave. We cannot miss it, Minister. We're not saying this as a 2-year program, just with the Cubans who come and go. We're saying you've got a master plan, a 10-year, 1 trillion rand program. We cannot waste it. We need to use it. Same as the cycle. It's a super cycle that started 40 years ago. Develop skill, develop manufacturing. It's here now. If you look at even the energy, in the same super cycle with energy, we are saying with all of this, we need to use it to develop skill, not only for our country, to develop Africa, to develop the rest of the continent, Minister. We cannot waste the opportunity. That's what we are saying in terms of the training program. And then the support industry. Here, Minister, we are saying this is not just for engineers. This program is too big. It needs to develop the rest of the industry. Your accountants, your property, etc. And we're saying as NSBE, we want to show leadership in activating the rest of industry to execute the plans. So if you look at the engineering capacity, Minister, we're saying we're not just starting at construction. We want to start at the beginning of the value chain, the feasibility studies, the optioneering. So let's take the Eastern Cape Challenge, for example. You've got multiple options there. Should you be building one big sanitation desalination plant? Should you be building multiple desalination plants? What proportion between desalination vis-a-vis underground, vis-a-vis surface water? As engineers, we've got skill to participate in those evaluation and options, Minister. So we're saying, ready, we are here. Project finance and modeling. Minister, you mentioned that you've got a shortage of 300 billion for the next 10 years. And we are saying there are funding options, there are financing options, there are development financing options, and we are saying, Minister, let's participate in the funding options to ensure we execute the national master plan. Preliminary designs, detailed designs, and that's our area of speciality, Minister. We cannot be looking outside when we've got the skills in-house. Technical specifications development, the creation of tenders. So, Minister, we are saying we need to be assisting in developing the specifications from the detailed designs in order to determine what should happen. By the time it goes out on open tender, it's late, Minister. We need to make sure the solutions that are put in place are the correct solutions, Minister. Then there's construction of those dams, there's construction of those sewer plants, then there's construction of those effluent systems. And we are saying, Minister, as engineers, we are there. That's our forte, Minister. Project management. For all of this to happen, at the beginning of it, there's project management. And Minister, again, we're exposing the skill set that we as engineers have. Operations management. The existing infrastructure, it needs the proper management, your day-to-day, your monthlies, your weeklies, Minister. And what we are saying is this is the forte on engineering, Minister. In fact, that's one of the biggest areas of failure is the management of the operation of our water infrastructure, the clean water treatment, the sewer water treatment, the reticulation system. The current infrastructure is failing because of operations. And then there's performance monitoring. The water that comes in must be the water that goes out. I've already mentioned that there's 44% of the water that goes in that is not accounted for. Nobody's consuming that water. We don't know where that water is going. It's waste. So the monitoring and the management of our infrastructure is our field, Minister. We need to help get the water back to the usage, not the waste that we see. Maintenance management. The state at which it's dilapidated, Minister, we develop maintenance program as our scale on how and when to run a maintenance operation of the scale that we are talking about. And we are saying we are here, Minister. Maintenance operations. So it's not just the management of the maintenance, it's the operations of doing the maintenance. So I hope, Minister, we are clarifying very clear when we are saying here is our involvement. I want to make a point about your current pipeline, Minister. So we're saying today is Friday. From Monday, we are available, Minister. And we do know that you've got a 200 billion rand pipeline of projects at play as we speak. We are saying, please, can we participate, Minister? I want to add, Minister, on the private sector. I want to add the Moy Kloof. It was announced by the President a few months ago, by building a new city in Pretoria. Now, That city is private sector. However, the bulk infrastructure to make sure that city happens, you are supplying the funds, you are supplying sewer, you are supplying water, you are supplying overhead power lines to that infrastructure. So we are saying introduce us to the owners, even though it's private sector, of that project, Minister. We're saying let us participate because the country is also putting funds on that project. Same with Stein City. Stein City is there because they've got a major sewer that you pump money to make it happen, Minister. So we need to go to Mr. Dowstein and say, where can we participate in this program? So it's not only reserved for private sector, Minister. So that's where we see on the capacity side. Then let's come to the training side, Minister, which is item 2 of our proposition. So in this one, Minister, we are saying we look at an overall development program, not a 2-year program like we said. I hope it's going to come up soon on the presentation here. So in this one, we are saying we want to start off with our students, the academics. We are saying, Minister, assist us in building capacity to allow us to assist our engineering students on the academic work, the mentoring, the coaching, the training, as they continue with their work. So that's the first part. The second one, we're saying the support and guidance on their vacation work. We need to make sure the students, after they work, they continue to do work that is meaningful. We've got examples of some of our engineers in training who are continuing to do photocopy work, etc. We are saying we develop. For the last 24 years, Minister, we've been in engineering. We've been developing programs to develop our engineers. If there's engineers who are unemployed, the President has already said they can be absorbed with the proper training programs that go all the way to X accreditation. In terms of the program, Minister, we are saying it starts off with the skills audit. You need to establish what are the skills that are required vis-a-vis the skills that are needed, the theory, the simulations, practical and meaningful work, and most importantly, competency assessments. So it's a very detailed thing that, Minister, we are saying we want to participate at building this 10-year program. The last part is activation of the support industry. Here, Minister, we are saying all the other fraternities, your accounting, your property, they need to be rallied in to participate in the program. Here, Minister, we are saying there are local businesses that need to participate in this program. There are people who've got manufacturing, etc., etc. In fact, I'll play a short video, if you could play, whoever is controlling the screen, just to show our thought of the scale of what we see. So who's and Sanitation Master Plan of the Department of Water and Sanitation, which was released 31st October 2018. There's sector totals approximately 90 billion per annum, comprising about 70 billion of water supply infrastructure from source to end user, and about 20 billion per annum for sanitation and wastewater collection and treatment. Currently, there is funding available for 565 billion for the next 10 years, whilst the funding requirement is 898 billion. So there, in fact, is a gap over the next 10 years of 333 billion. The Water and Sanitation Department under Minister Lindiwe Sisulu is responsible for the bulk supply of water, building of dams, building of sewer treatment plants, building of reservoirs, building of desalination plants, and COGTA, which is a Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department under Minister Dr. Dlamini Zuma, in short, the local government or municipalities. They are then responsible for the operations and maintenance, the treatment or continuous cleaning of water, and reticulation or distribution of water to the consumers, that is the households or businesses. So in resource planning, we need to take into account the engineers and other professionals that will need to be employed in-house by these two departments. We also need to take into account the main contractors that will be appointed via an open and transparent tender processes
by the two departments to enhance their technical and management capacity. These main contractors will need to appoint additional engineers and other professionals via their private recruitment processes. They'll also use their private processes to appoint subcontractors to assist them in fulfilling their contract with government. These appointed subcontractors will in return need to create capacity by using their private internal processes to appoint technical skills and blue-collar tradesmen, artisans, electricians, plumbers, welders, security guards, cleaners, amongst others. Installing new water infrastructure, operating and maintaining it properly over a period of time requires expertise, not only engineers, but also other professionals, including environmental scientists, land surveyors, procurement specialists, property specialists, data scientists, quantity surveyors, project managers, instrumentation technicians, amongst others. Subcontracted companies, in addition to appointing more staff, will need to hire other specialist service providers. Example, TLB hire companies, generator hire companies, cleaning companies, security services, tax consultants, construction site containers, catering companies, amongst others. The program will also require support from the local manufacturing sector, pipe manufacturers, valve manufacturers, pump manufacturers, electric motor manufacturers, amongst others. So resolving the water crisis will also be stimulatory to vast sectors of the economy and help in employing people from different specialties across the country. We have created a hub where the local skills and local businesses in each municipality can register and submit their skills and expertise that their local companies have. We encourage engineers and other skilled people to register their skills at lulabizhub.com. They must choose the correct municipality where they are staying, and they must include a write-up of up to half a page of the expertise and experience that they have, the qualifications and certificates that they have, the list of big projects that they've been involved in, and the list of companies they've worked for and the number of years. We also encourage small and medium businesses, including manufacturing companies that operate in the various municipalities, to also register the services of their companies, choose the correct municipality, and include a write-up of up to half a page of what services is the company providing, what skills does it have, how many years it's been operating, etc. Then the successful service providers who have won government tenders can search the hub for specific skills in specific municipalities and companies to subcontract from in different municipalities. Some of these successful service providers will want to drive transformation when subcontracting and will want to promote, for example, township entrepreneurs. Some may want to promote youth-owned businesses. Some may choose female-owned businesses, while others will choose simply black-owned businesses in order to meet their own transformation contractual obligations with government. So while searching the hub, they can filter the specific target company ownership category. Please share this video and forward the details of the hub widely for people to register. lulabizhub.com.
Say ready. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Deputy Sireti. That's the key message coming through. Is Sireti, there's a plan, and it is in line with the National Water and Sanitation Master Plan. It has been reviewed. There are some key priorities that have been identified, as well as how, because that's quite important, how to engage. So that was quite insightful. Thank you so much. And that Lula Biz Hub, I'm certainly noting that. I'm going to be checking it out and promoting it. So thank you so much for that, Deputy. I think in the interest of, whilst we get the connectivity going, I'm going to ask the technical team to please play a video that was sent by NSBE. In the interim, I'm going to allow for a 2-3 minute leg stretch whilst we get the connection back to the minister. So 2-3 minutes, please, a bit of a leg stretch. If you need to go to the bathroom, a bit of a bathroom break. And then if we can please all be back here seated to hear the address by the minister in the next 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
According to the National Water and Sanitation Master According to the National Water and Sanitation
Colleagues, if we can please take our seats. We'll be crossing over to the minister shortly, so if you can please take your seats. Honourable Minister, thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning. I have seen you, and you are going to be reflecting shortly here with us. Thank you for taking the time once again to be with us, and we are going to be crossing over to you now for your key address. So, ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention to the screens as we hear from the Minister. Thank you. Perhaps while we wait for the Minister to connect, I'm just going to ask if you have any questions, please note your questions. We will have an opportunity for questions and answers after the Minister's address. So please make sure that you do note your questions, please, for the Q&A session afterwards. Thank you.
I have my mask. I have my face.
We have a bit of a problem with the connectivity. Can you confirm your stable? Chairperson.
Yes, we can hear you, Minister. There's a bit of an echo, but you are coming through and breaking. So I think it's a bit of a connection issue. But our engineers are on it. Apologies for the delay, colleagues. She'll be joining us shortly.
Is the sound okay?
Yep, the sound is perfect, thank you. And we've got a picture as well now, so we see you and we can hear you.
Yes, Lisa.
Okay. Yes, please continue. Please go ahead. If you can.
Are you sure?
Yes, we can hear you now. I think
He's hearing an echo from our side and
there's no echo from on our end. What we'll do is we'll mute on our side and allow you to continue, Minister.
please do, then perhaps the echo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Program Director, Mr. Doom Lava, President of the National Society of Black Engineers, the leadership of the National Society of Black Engineers, the Acting Director General of the Department of Water and Sanitation. On my own. I can see now I have a partner in you. it has manifested that COVID-19 has had on all of us. It has the potential to reverse our freedoms, the freedoms that we fought for so many years, the freedoms that our forebears have sacrificed their lives for. Indeed, as much as we battle every day with the challenges of improving our personal situation, we are also faced with other problems that crop up. We're faced with structural and systemic injustices. We're faced with the plague of corruption. We fight against gender-based violence. And we, at the moment, are still fighting against the pandemic and reaching out to see where we can find effective vaccines against the pandemic. Your counterparts in America have been playing their part. The Race for Social Justice initiative has seen an effort to shift the focus from instances of discrimination against individuals to fighting structural institutional forms of racism. And I can see the nascent foundations are there in your own organization. Apart from other good work that you're doing, I have been particularly struck by the recent critique made by the president of NSBE, Mr. Doom Laba, against Eskom persistent electricity load shedding, calling on Eskom CEO, Mr. Director, not to raise the issue of old power plants as the reason for their inability to cover 4,000 megawatts electricity shortfall, while there are specific improvements that could be done, such as improving the performance and reliability of coal power stations, reining in primary energy costs, restoring the reliability of auxiliary plants, adherence to maintenance outages, timelines, and implementing consequence management for slippages. We need to see more of this boldness, because when we don't have electricity, we are not able to provide our people with water. It affects us very directly. And I'd like to thank him for taking that bold stand to say this far and no further will we tolerate this kind of inability to deliver. And I know he's been saying this to us as well. Minister, you can do things differently. We are in a partnership, I believe now. You'll be able to say to me, Minister, this can be done better. I'm very impressed by the work that you do in transforming perceptions about engineering as a conservative, complex field of study amongst many students. Many students are discovering that engineering is not only about civil or mechanical engineering. It's in fact a broad field that provides students with many exciting areas of study. It is an applied science field that offers students the opportunity to study and provide solutions to societal diverse challenges. The increasing number of students who are now taking up engineering courses show that the work that you do is having the desired impact on invigorating our students' interest in engineering as a field of study. I'm told that our female students are also taking very keen interest in engineering as a profession. And here is something that you might not like to hear, that it is the female engineering students who are outdoing everybody. And I thought I'd have a round of applause for them. Anyway, something that we regard as groundbreaking, as it kills the stereotypes that engineering is a closed male colony. Today's global challenges, such as climate change, COVID-19 pandemic, require engineering minds that would offer groundbreaking solutions. But to have such bright engineering minds, we need to develop and nurture a new cadre of engineers that are professional, ethical, and technically competent to innovate solutions and patriotically contribute to the development agenda of the country. A cadre of engineers that will help us in water resource management, address the increasing threat of drought, the building of dams, wastewater treatment plants, all of those things that I've heard you enumerate. So this is something that you're very familiar with. We need engineers that will take a lead in realizing our vision of a new human settlements that provide housing and comfort to our people, engineers that will help change the spatial orientation of apartheid to cities and towns, engineers that will ensure timely delivery of earthworks, bulk infrastructure, and housing construction. We cannot proceed with housing construction until we have bulk infrastructure, and bulk infrastructure cannot proceed until we have sufficient engineers who will make sure that we have this in place. Our construction projects will will be given the necessary impetus if we have your cooperation. We need engineers who will continue to be driven by objectivity, ethical behavior, and technical competence. Engineers who will shy away from corruption, engineers who will not sign off poorly constructed infrastructure projects, and who will not bow to pressure to compromise technically sound decisions. These are the values we expect from this profession. We want you to emerge and be felt as a force. We want you to take your rightful place in society, influencing future public policy options. And I've heard you make attempts into saying, Minister, you can do things differently, you can do this and the other, and I'm very excited about what you are putting forward as options for us. We want you to take up your space, and I'm glad you've taken up the space. The problem of low production of Black skilled engineers has been compounded further by the lack of stability, by the few registered Black engineers, most of whom prefer private sector jobs to public employment. Government, with its strict regulatory framework, has not been able to devise enticing strategies to keep these engineers in public service. We have not yet succeeded in promoting engineering as a viable and exciting field of study for prospective students. With your help, we will be able to do that. The introduction of the sector education training authorities, the learnership, internships, or the graduate recruitment scheme have not had the required impact. That is, our schemes have not had the required impact. But I heard you offer that it is possible for you to assist us in this regard. We would like you to take on some learnerships, internships from our graduate students. This means that government has a lot of work to do to change perceptions that engineering is old-fashioned, conservative, complex, and not exciting. These sorts of wrong perceptions about engineering have made engineering, well, this is the general belief when we interview our students, not to be as attractive to our Black students as we would like to. And the future is engineering. The foundation of our future is engineering. I am glad that you are able to be part of us, trying to make sure that we have a solid foundation of engineers. And at this point, I just want to tell you a story which is not related to water, but it has to do with engineers and my experience of engineers. I was a Minister of Housing and Human Settlements in 2004. We'd built record houses around the country. We'd won an international award from the United Nations. We were very proud of our work. And suddenly there was a slump in the delivery. So as I investigated why we had the slump, I discovered that we had closed down, or some of our major construction companies had closed down because they didn't have the necessary engineers. And I tried to find out why we didn't have the necessary engineers. And I was pointed to Dubai, got onto a flight, went to Dubai, tried to persuade my South African engineers to come home because we had so much work to do. And their answer was simply, Minister, we love our country very much, but we're okay here and we're not coming home. They didn't come home. They had the option because by their very nature, engineers have the option to go wherever their education takes them, wherever their fancy takes them. But you chose to come and be with me. Thank you for that. However, on the Dubai engineers, we can sit back and say, well, they have contributed something. The most beautiful construction buildings in Dubai and indeed in the entire Emirates is built by South Africans. We would like them at some point to come home, and them being your counterparts in construction, please ask them to come home. We have a huge backlog which we have to overcome. Engineers who have worked in government in particular, as I've indicated in the case of the housing in the construction sector, and the engineers from your sector who have worked at local government complain about the workload that is not consummate with their remuneration. We would want to have a discussion with you to see how we can pair this up and make sure that we can keep the engineers that are in local government. Local government is a sphere that is closest to our people. When things don't work in local government, very little else will work. the workload that they're complaining about and is understandable, and I want to go through some of the concerns that they have raised with us. They complain about poor working conditions, which is understandable. Local government covers the entire sphere of where you and I come from, the poorest areas of our country that sometimes are not conducive to living in. They complain of lack of budget for construction projects, that when they are ready to get onto the next phase of construction, the budget has been used up somewhere else. They complain about low salary and remuneration. We would like you to assist us to see how we can keep them and make sure that their salary is commensurate with the work that they are bringing to our sector. They complain of lack of expertise and experience in the local government sector. I was tempted to say that's why we brought in the Cubans, but I'll leave the Cubans out of this before we have an uproar. I took the opportunity a few months ago to take both the chair and the deputy chair of the association to Nelson Mandela, and I heard them report what it was that we went through. But I took them there so that they understand that actually where we need most help is at local government, because that is the government, that is a level that is closest to our people. That is where we have the greatest dysfunctionality. And right now we've had to take over the running of the VAL because the municipality there, it's not a rural municipality, but it doesn't have the necessary skills to deal with some of the bulk infrastructure that we have put at their disposal. And therefore we want you to consider how we can work together and make sure that those people who work under very difficult conditions, such as the ones that I have indicated here, are supported by ourselves and are supported by government as well. They complain about bureaucracy and red tape. This is unfortunate. We also complain about bureaucracy and red tape. It is something that is almost intrinsic to being in government. We have to account for everything, every pen, everything we have. They complain about low staff morale, and they complain about service ethics. Our responsibility as government is to make sure that all our public servants go through compulsory training so that their work ethic is the kind of work ethics that your engineers will find is the kind of place they would like to work in. They complain about nepotism, cronyism, malpractice, and corruption. We're working to make sure we can break the back of all of this, so we create a very conducive environment for everybody. Corruption is something that we will not tolerate in our space, and we're working very hard to send that message. They complain about poor infrastructure management. That, of course, is something that we're very worried about, and we're glad we have this partnership with you, because we want to see how you can help us deal with this poor infrastructure, especially the management of poor infrastructure. They complain about lack of responsiveness to community needs by local government. Most of these matters that they complain about, we have communicated to Minister Dlamini Zuma. Sometimes we hold common meetings with her officials and mine, and we deal with these matters. I will emphasize these to her so that as we entice you to come into those difficult areas, the environment will have changed slightly, I hope. These challenges in the public sector explain why so many engineers prefer to work in the private sector. I am informed. Better working conditions and better remuneration, and out of the main attraction. This means that government still has a lot of work to do to match the private sector in terms of employment offering. We want you to assist us to make sure we can match the private sector. We need you more than any other private sector would need you. We need you because these are your people. We need you because we've made promises on your behalf to your people that their lives will be better. It is several decades down the line, and I will give you a breakdown of what the conditions are in this country in the area of water while we govern. Program Director, while some Black engineers have succeeded in opening their companies that are doing relatively well,
Others have been struggling under a yoke of many challenges that continue to be worsened by the sluggish economic performance and the retarding effect of the pandemic. And these challenges that they face include company startups. I hope that you are on top of this as an association to help them. High staff turnover, few work opportunities available in the market. We are very open. Unsustainability of short-term contracts. This is something that we're grappling with ourselves to see how we can readjust our contractual arrangements in government so as to attract more people to work with government. Many companies are specialized and thus often lose out of multidisciplinary projects when we channel them into the kind of work that we want them to do. They are worried that the small firms have weaker buying power when it comes to procurement. They complain about challenges in preparing and submitting acceptable tenders. They complain about insurance burden that is too large, and in some instances, they have lengthy payment terms by their clients, and we have dishonored payments from government. I've taken time to enumerate this because these are the things that I'd like us to have a workshop on, not the kind of workshop which we have right now, which is possibly laying the groundwork of how we can continue to work together. I'd like us to take each one of these and see how together we can make conditions much better in the public sector so that we can attract more people like yourselves to work with us. These companies would like government to develop a definitive project pipeline, which of course, as you know, is very difficult for government because we are budget driven. Because they want a definitive project pipeline, which will bring certainty in the market. They want government to champion the localization of professional services to mitigate foreign competition. And they also want stricter implementation of the Public Service Management Act to stamp out corruption. We agree with them totally. Program director, for the record, these are the parameters in which we operate. And I thought that I would let you know so that you understand the extent of the problem that we face 27 years after our liberation. 19 million people in this country do not have access to reliable drinking water. 14.1 million people do not have access to safe sanitation. Only 64% of households have access to reliable water service. 56% of wastewater treatment works and 44% of water treatment works are in poor critical condition. You see this every day on your screens, water running through the streets, children playing in what they think are ponds when in fact it is pure raw sewer. 41% of municipal water does not generate revenue and 35% is lost through leakages. And I believe this is a matter that you've been discussing, arising from our visit to with two of your leadership. I invited them so that they actually understand the problems that we're dealing with. That out of every municipality, we need at least 2 very competent engineers to understand what the problem is, do up the specification so that we are able to put out tenders for people to come and solve the right problem as opposed to that which has been going on. If we don't understand the problem, we can't do the specifications and we can't get the right help for that. 41% of our municipalities do not generate revenue and 35 is lost, as I say, which amounts to 9.9 billion annually. Now, I dread to think, what the average South African thinks of the fact that on an annual basis, we lose 9.9 billion purely because we are not able to stop the leakages. 33% of the remaining wetlands that we have in our country are critically endangered, and we've already lost over the period of time that we've been in government, 50% of our wetlands. 61% of water is for agriculture, and only 5% of agricultural water is used by Black farmers. More than 70% of commercial farms in South Africa are owned by white farmers who use 95% of the water allocated for the agricultural sector. I need you to help me to reverse this historical injustice. South Africa is facing a projected 70% water deficit by 2030 if it doesn't successfully implement planned measures. And the planned measures you will find in a document that you have asked me about. And we will get to that in a little while. South Africa is a water scarce country, and this is something that we want you to join us in sending that message to our people. We are a very water scarce country. We're number 31 in a world of 152 countries, top ranging quadrant. We are there as one of the driest countries in the world. The water crisis that we have, apart from the fact that we don't have enough water, this is what we have as additional problems. And you've gone into them. I repeat them for emphasis where these matters have been discussed by your leadership. Insufficient water infrastructure maintenance and investment. That's apart from the fact that the infrastructure that we inherited was directed towards particular areas. We've had to create new infrastructure that will take our water to the most rural areas. We're far from getting to our most rural areas. Some of our people still drink water where their cows drink water. We have recurrent droughts driven by climatic variation. We have inequalities of access to water and sanitation. That is a very glaring problem that we continue to live with. We have deteriorating water quality, and we have rapid unplanned urbanization. The problem that we have right now in the Vaal, which is a matter that I'll discuss with you later, is the fact that the Vaal system was never intended to cater for the kind of urbanization that it is currently having to deal with. And the effect it has now, that urbanization on our water infrastructure, is terrible. I wondered why I had this double burden of being Minister of Human Settlements and Minister of Water, but there are times when I understand how they impact on each other. We are now in the Vaal trying to solve that problem, and we will get to that in a little while. Access to water is key to economic prosperity and better living standards. Inadequacy of water resource availability have a significant impact on the revival of the economy, as well as inhibiting social transformation, which perpetuates the entrapment in poverty, especially in our rural areas. Funding constraints is a very serious problem as it results in delayed implementation of measures to secure water resource availability. As we speak, for us to complete the programs we have prioritized, we require the following funding. And I heard you indicate, Minister, money, we can assist you access money. And let me go through what it is we're dealing with right now and what it is we will be dealing with. We are now on phase 2 of the Lesotho Highlands water scheme, and we need 32 billion for that. We're now dealing with the Orange River systems, which will cost us 14 billion. We're dealing with the Mokolo Crocodile Water Augmentation Project, which will cost us 15 billion. We're dealing with the Olifants River system, which will cost us 11 billion. We're dealing with the Mkomazi water projects, which will cost us 18 billion. We're dealing with the Berg River augmentation scheme, which will cost us 1 billion. We're dealing with the Mzimvubu water project, which will cost us 17 billion. We're dealing with the Kuanap River Development Project, which will cost us 3 billion. We're dealing with the Lusikisiki water project, which will cost us 2 billion. That is a nightmare by any measure for a country like ours, with the backlogs and everything such as we have. But I don't want to discuss money with you. I heard you make overtures about how you can direct us to look in the right places to be able to solve our financial problems. The Department of Water and Sanitation has been given a dual mandate by the Constitution with regard to water resource management and water services. The primary mandate being water resource management, and the secondary being water services. The secondary mandate is also the primary mandate that the Constitution gives to local government. And I want to use this platform to ask you to spread the message. We get calls on a regular basis. Minister, there is no water in my tap. Minister, there is no water here. Minister, my toilet does not flush. The water comes back. And we have to keep saying to our people, local government, which is closest to the people, is responsible for water in our taps. It is responsible for articulation. We have 152 water services authorities, which are municipality with authority to provide water services within its area of jurisdiction. We need you there. We need you to support these people so that they are able to provide water to our people. We have 278 municipalities. These are those that are designated to provide water services. We have 2,000 water supply schemes. These are water schemes that supply water. We have 1,200 wastewater treatment works. These are those that deal with sewer, and these are the most problematic for us. Apart from the fact that they need upkeep regularly, we also need to embark on a civic education to say to our people, please do not throw your baby's nappy down the drain. Please do not throw the skin of your cow down the drain after you slaughtered the cow, because these blockages have severe consequences for us. We have 1,300 water treatment works. These are works that deal with raw water for drinking purposes. We have 105,000 boreholes. We need to have more boreholes because we've had an experiment in the Northern Cape where we have seen that even in the driest areas, it is possible for us to provide our people with water. We've embarked on a relationship between the mining sector, the agricultural sector, and ourselves in the Northern Cape through Citibank, and we're drilling boreholes for every farm in that area, and the success is incredible. It's a pity we don't have enough time. I'll show you clips of what this has done in the Northern Cape, where we have the driest areas. South Africa is facing increasing water supply challenges caused by insufficient water infrastructure, maintenance, which is very well known to you, investment, recurring droughts driven by climatic variations, inequalities of access to water. As we try to equalize, we find that actually we're not getting anywhere in a great hurry. And we've had very limited skilled professionals and even more limited competent administrators. But I'm very grateful today we have a whole organization full of skilled professionals. We want to seal our relationship, not in blood, but in something that is concrete that we can work on, and I'll be able to say that matter will be covered because we have on board a partnership with Black engineers. As alluded to earlier, a major concern that the Black engineers have indicated in serving government as a client is that government needs to develop a reliable infrastructure project pipeline. We're working on that. We have infrastructure units within our department. We also have an overarching infrastructure section under the presidency. So we are hoping that that problem will be put to rest. From our perspective, we've developed the new, the National Water Sanitation Master Plan, which was launched in 2019 and which you have been discussing. It provides a blueprint for the implementation of water and sanitation and all of those things that you've already been discussing. It seeks to address the increasing water supply challenges caused by insufficient infrastructure maintenance and investment, recurring droughts, and all of those climatic variations that come to haunt us on a day-to-day basis. The plan that we have, the master plan, we have termed a water charter because we believe in it lies a possibility of a redistributive avenue to make sure that there is water for all. So we are going to call this master plan, once it is accepted by cabinet, the water charter, water for all. What we want, however, from the fiscus is a total of 126 billion over the next 10 years to make sure that the water charter does kick in and it provides us with the necessary support that we need. Together with the human settlements projects, the water sanitation infrastructure projects under the presidency, the master plan provides a major stimulus to the economy and economic recovery. It provides a possibility to revitalize the built environment profession and create new required platforms for local Black businesses, creating work, much needed work for ourselves. Chairperson, I need to skip this because I'm going into detail which you already have been dealing with. We arranged that I should come at the end instead of the beginning because we did have a technical problem. So I will skip some of those things that I have heard that you have discussed. The master plan has been on our website since the launch, and we have been expecting that people like yourselves will write in and give us some kind of indication of how you're going to contribute. In one of the letters that I got from the chair, president of the organization, was points that they were concerned about. And he writes, the master plan was drafted in 2018. It is now 20-something or other. We want to know what the delay has been. The delay has been that we're waiting for people like yourselves to make the necessary comments before we take that to cabinet. It will serve in the next cabinet within this month. And when it is accepted, it will be a working document for everybody to look into. And we will use that as a blueprint going forward. I'm very glad that your engagements have discussed the master plan, and I leave some of my staff with you should you want to continue to ensure that you have the necessary answers for the questions that you might have. We do have challenges. One of them is the economy, which you already are very well aware of. The second one is inherited water and sanitation backlogs. As I've indicated, we have huge backlogs, and it is our people, our Black people, who suffer most from these backlogs. We have a municipal level that does not have the requisite skills to deal with the work that is allocated to it. And we need you to assist us in that sphere particularly. We have Black farmers who are knocking on our door to say, we only have 5% of the water. And we're looking forward to getting more land from the redistributive process in Parliament. Where are we going to get the water? We need you to come on board to assist us make sure that Black farmers have water. We need to transform the engineering environment. That is why I was very happy to have this arrangement with you. I don't know if your president told you there was a glitch at the beginning of my term of office. The organization wrote to me and the letter got lost, as it were, in the post. However, when I met them a few months ago, we were able to recover the letter, and on behalf of my office, our sincerest apologies. We are a very efficient office, but that particular letter just did not reach me. But we're here now, and I'm very glad for the partnership. I'm very glad for your energy to make sure that we can work together and go forward. From the Engineering Council 2018 annual report, it has revealed that we have 17,000 odd registered professional engineers in the country. 80.7% of these are white. 11% of these are Africans. You have a historical mandate to change that distribution and make sure that we have more Black engineers who will be able to get into this field and help us as a country get to where we would like to get to. We have opportunities for you, however, and this should be the part that you've been waiting for all this time. Today, we have an entire Black engineering sector with us today to support us in solving our problems, in the problems of the country. We have a number of programs that are run by the Water Research Commission of the department and the Department of Science and Innovation. These are aimed principally at making sure that we can get young engineers, and we hope that you will be able to be there to mentor these young engineers. This is what we would like to use as a first opportunity in our work with you, apart from making yourselves available for our municipalities to train young graduates to make sure that we have the necessary skills and that those necessary skills represent the demographics of the country. Opportunity number 2, and this is for you, is the Vaal River system. The Vaal River system has been a headache for us for a very long time. When Minister Tito Mboweni was appointed as Minister of Finance, one of the first things he did was to say, look, the army should go and solve the problem in the Vaal. He sent the army there, and the army was there, and the army was very busy. And when I became minister, I went to see the army, and I realized that there was a technical glitch here. The engineering sector of the Defense Force is not civil engineering. It is not to do with unblocking drains and all of those things. It is dealing with demining areas like Angola and those areas that we lived in. It is to do with creating lethal weapons and etc. So after a while, we were very grateful for what the army did. They cleaned up the Vaal, but beyond that, we needed engineers such as ourselves. We need you there. So, Mr. President, I would like you to zoom in on what we are planning for the Vaal and make yourselves available. In a public letter that I received dated to me, dated the 21st, written to me by your president, Mr. Malaba, is it Malaba? Sorry. He raised with me a concern that possibly many of you might have had, I don't know. He wanted to discuss the issue of the Cuban engineers. And he stated, and I quote, "We've received a lot of complaints from our members and general public about the importation of engineering skills by the Department of Water, whilst we have competent, qualified engineers in the country who can fill the mandate that has been given to the Cuban engineers. It is important for us to have clarity as we meet here. But before we get to the clarity, seeing as we've had so many complaints of people who have the engineering skills and would be able to work with the Department of Water and Sanitation, perhaps we can start with a database of those people who are available. It would be very important for us. But to get back to the Cuban engineers, and I will not spend too much time on that because it is not something that keeps me awake all night. The Cuban engineers are in our country together with the Cuban doctors, together with Cuban human settlements experts, because they are here to assist us in those areas where we need assistance, not in those areas where we don't need assistance, which is where you are. The arrangement by which they come to us was signed by President Nelson Mandela together with Fidel Castro. It is called country-to-country agreement. It has nothing to do with any minister who comes and goes. It is signed in the blood that both of them have shed to make sure that you and I are free today. So I'm in no position, nor is anybody in any position to cancel that arrangement. So we will have to live with the Cuban engineers. They are not here to take anybody's job. They are here for a mentoring purpose. When I took the president and the deputy to Gqeberha, I indicated to them that Gqeberha was lucky. They had 2 engineers in the council, and these were able to indicate what needs to be done. We were having a drought approaching us. Very, very few of our municipalities have that kind of expertise. Our Cuban engineers are out there making sure that we are able to provide water to our people. There are 24 of them. This is a tiny drop compared to the number of engineers that we have. So the conflation of unemployment with 24 mentors I believe is just a publicity stunt by those people who want to claim some limelight. We're in court with them, and so that matter is off the radar screen. I thought that I owed you an explanation so that you're able to understand why these Cubans are here. They will be here again in another 4 years. They're not in your way. They are mentors. They're not practicing engineering. And it is beyond the power of any single minister to terminate bilateral agreements. These are from president to president. And I have not heard my president saying he's keen on terminating this particular arrangement. Now, what we have here is also our concern to raise public funds, because we need private sector funding. And to do that, we have the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency. We've been working hard on making sure that we have a bill and a business case. This will be provided to you, the business case. The bill is going to cabinet, and we hope that we will have the bill passed before the end of the year. We need your support in the bill so that we have the buy-in of the public in that bill. We need this agency because we need an agency that will be able to not only raise resources, but also make sure that our infrastructure is given the attention that it requires. Experience shows us that it is necessary for us to plan 10 to 20 years ahead to successfully address the climate variability and challenges that we experience. And as the intervention is needed to support our growing water needs, we need to be sure that we have all of these in place. So we have in the department TCTA, which is out there making sure that they get the sufficient resources for us. We will be having the agency, which will be getting infrastructure resources to make sure that our infrastructure is attended to. We have the department, we have our water boards, we have the NSBE supporting us. We're well placed to make sure that we can move forward and deal with the challenges that we have in water. I think at this particular point, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to me, despite the glitches we had in our communication. I did get to hear what you were saying. I would like us to have another meeting, which is not a get-to-know-you meeting, but a meeting that is specifically geared towards saying to you, this is what we have for you. We have the Lesotho Highlands, this is what we need for the Lesotho Highlands. We have the Vaal problem, which is what we need. And we have all of these other matters. We have Mzimfubu, we have a lot of work that we need you to cooperate with us, to partner with us in. And I'm glad we had this beginning. The next meeting will be called by myself to say to you, this is what we are intending to do within the next 5 or 10 years. We need your support in making sure that we have the necessary expertise to do what needs to be done. To all of you, thank you very much for the time that you've given me. Apologies for the glitches that we've had. I'm sorry too that I couldn't be there with you. We have other crises that we have had to deal with. But I take this as a very necessary first step for me to engage with you. Oh, if you can remove that picture, it makes me look paler than pale. But thank you for the breakfast. I had my own breakfast and to ensure that I am part of what carefully to what you were saying, and so too did my officials. If you have any more time and you would want to have anything responded to, my officials are there. But for me, thank you for partnering with me. Thank you for chasing up on my unanswered letters. Thank you for being there for me, because South Africa needs the working relationship that only you and I can have. Thank you to everybody. Minister,
I'm not sure if you'll he'll be hearing us. But thank you so much for that address. Thank you for addressing us this morning. I certainly took quite a few notes, and I'll be sitting with the deputy there to compare to see what it is that he had presented versus what the minister has addressed us on this morning. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we don't have much capacity for questions and answers. But I think it is it's quite pertinent for us maybe to pose one or two questions here, just to gather. It's always good to kind of get a feel of what is a response from members here present. I have spoken to President as well, maybe just to prepare something shortly. But I'd like maybe just one or two of us that are here present, just to give a response in terms of what, over and above everything that we've heard this morning, what is it that how do you respond as a black engineer within South Africa, having heard everything that we've heard this morning? So I'll just take one or two hands here present with us. I know that there are colleagues that are online as well, and they would have liked to have the opportunity to do so. But I'm just, if I may, just because of time constraints, be limited to the people that are here present, and I've already got a hand. So just by a show of hands, anyone that would like to sort of give a comment or a response to what we have heard here this morning? I've already got one hand. I see you, noted. All right, the one lady in the house will be giving us a response. So let me please ask you to please stand, give us your name, and then please pose your response to us today. Do you want to come up here, or do you want to stay there? Can you get on camera? On camera? Good. Okay. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. My question is, my name is Ayla Mohammed. I'm a mechanical engineer, currently specializing in modeling of solid mechanics. I'm also a head tutor in my department and part-time mentor. My occupation is relevant to my question. My question is directed to both of our leadership in NSBE and to the Honorable Minister. My question is research considered one of the solutions of the current problems that we're having? Are we encouraging, funding, mentoring young researchers? I mean, not necessarily young, but are we considering research that is relevant to our to our current problems? That's it. I also want to quickly express my gratitude. I'm very highly inspired today, and I'm going to transfer this inspiration to my students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll park that. So that was relating to research, asking is there funding and mentorship also being set aside for research purposes. Any other comments or questions from colleagues here present? Yeah, we've got a gentleman's hand there. Please just state your name and pose your question or your response.
Yeah. Which way should I look?
Anywhere, the camera will find you.
Okay. Yeah. No, the name is Mlamuli Buthelezi, NSBE, I think one of the veterans. One of the issues that we don't talk about in trying to resolve the infrastructure issues, even with water and sanitation, is the whole systemic issues. It is finance, supply chain management, and engineering. That what you're going to find is that austerity measures is the in language. And they say that there's no money to do maintenance, and it is a finance person, not an engineer, who says that. And then that gets followed by a supply chain person, who then basically is going to drag on the processes for a long time, is not sensitive to what needs to happen on the ground. And then it links to engineering. And I'm saying that we need to fix all these three things at the same time if we're going to get out there and fix infrastructure in our local governments. I think as the Honorable Minister has stated it. Then also the issue of we are a water-scarce country, but we sit with 3,700 kilometers of coastline and water. I mean, I think we're one of the big three countries in Africa with the longest coastline. Yeah. And we talk about water scarcity. They don't talk about that in the Middle East, where they don't really have rivers and water. And I'm saying that, again, one of the key challenges is the issue of affordable desalination. That how do we resolve that specific issue as an engineering matter? Then the last bit is the structural issues that have to deal with the engineering profession. Doctors go to the Ministry of Health for health issues. lawyers go to, constitutional development and whatever that ministry is. We go to almost every ministry as engineers. We can have the same discussion with the Minister of Energy, we can have the same discussion with Public Works, can have the same discussion with even health, that we're having with water and salination. With water and sanitation. So some of these issues, I see them as structural. That I think that we're making a good start here with the Ministry of Human Settlements, Water, and Sanitation. But these issues, I'm saying, are pervasive. Even, public enterprises, where Deputy President, I think, is busy at. The kind of load shedding that we have right now is totally unjustifiable. And I think that's the position that the NSBE has adopted. It is totally unjustifiable. We cannot build 2 mega power stations, and then say that the country must sit in darkness. How do we justify it? So these are all the issues. I'm saying that, it's a few ministries that we find ourselves having to interface with. And I think that for all of them, we need to put together teams to deal with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well articulated there. Thank you very much for that. Do we have another closing comment? I think let's take one more from the floor here present. And then I'm going to ask our honorable speaker, our last one from the DBSA, Mr. Mohan Vivekanandam, to come and close. He'll be our closing speaker for the day. But before we hear from him, let's hear from yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to send an appreciation to the Minister, Honorable Sisulu, for explaining the Cuba situation, because actually, I don't know if all of you know that President Fidel Castro, when he was alive, invited Black South Africans to study in Cuba for free. I happened to actually fly to Havana and do a tour of a university called Kuhai, and I was welcome to study for free there. So it's an interesting thing that it was kind of complicated to understand for me. One, of course, I got an opportunity to train for free in Cuba, which was completely going to be paid by the Cuban government as a gift to Black South Africans and as compensation for the long struggle we've had. But then I didn't know that what was the arrangement with the Cuban engineers coming in, especially with the public opinion about this. And I really appreciated the minister for explaining that, because I had it so hard when I couldn't really be punchy about the subject, because I was invited by Cuban people to study.
Awesome. Thank you. So before you sit...
my name is Guguletu Zikalala. I am trained in civil engineering. I started with geology, environmental engineering. I trained in civil engineering. I discovered hydraulics. I discovered water resources management. I discovered groundwater hydrology. I did my master's degree in California, where I looked at groundwater and hydrogeology, and mostly optimization of systems in the Central Valley. And then I worked with the Energy Commission to look at energy policy in California. I went back to do my PhD. This time I did it in science, in hydrologic sciences, and I ended up looking at salinity associated with agricultural management. And then for my postdoc, I looked at climate change impact on almond fields. And then I ran away when COVID hit that. Now I'm here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about excellence in engineering, I give you Kukuletu Zigala. Well done. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Quite inspirational. And there is transformation for opportunities, even within the engineering industry. So thank you so much for being with us. I do see a hand, one last hand. Please, so if we can you'll be the last one. And then we're going to go on to our final speaker for the day. But thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hope Mashele. Profession is an electrical engineer. I'd also like to thank the Minister for her frankness and her honesty and openness in welcoming the NSBE. I think it is also heartening for us to know that we can also contribute positively towards the development of our own country. It is not that we are averse to participating in collaborating with other nations and other countries, but it is more about looking at how we can do that fruitfully and empower each other than in an adversarial capacity. One of the biggest things that we have encountered in our profession when doing projects, especially human settlement projects, is that the collaboration between the departments is not as well as it could be. So we were quite heartened when the Department of Water and Sanitation was put together with the Department of Human Settlements, because what then happens is that Department of Human Settlements says, people say they need housing, and when you're busy developing the housing developments, before they can be developed, you need the services to come through. And before the services can come through, you need the water purification and water pumping plants. And once that flow is not understood and coordinated very well, you find that the human settlement budget has to be taken back because it was allocated to a particular project to do human settlements, but the other services were not ready. So when putting that all together, we're very encouraged to be able to work and give our own input to the minister in how we can coordinate this and make sure that we have multidisciplinary teams that are able to assist the minister in the planning and coordination of such functions. The last issue, which is an important issue, and I think we've touched on it, I'd like to also keep on emphasizing it. The NSBE has a large number of professional engineers that are always open and willing to participate in mentoring young graduates and young unemployed graduates, young inexperienced graduates with a skills development program of sorts. We had the likes of ESCOM. We had the honor of having the likes of ESCOM, ISCO, Transnet, the Rainwater, PRASA, all of those SAPI. They had brilliant graduate training programs, brilliant, world class, in fact. And those have fallen away. Those have fallen away, and nothing is coming into the same space. It is up to us, who we are the beneficiaries of all those programs, to take forward that mantle and say, how do we take it forward and give it to the youngsters that are sitting today and stop this whole narrative that South Africa doesn't have the engineers to be able to service not only South Africa, but the Southern African region as well as the rest of the African continent. So we are looking forward to putting our heads to the wheel and to the grind and seeing how we can participate and push our land and our continent forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think you said hope, was it? Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, let me ask Mr. Mohan Vivekanandam from DBSA to come and just talk to us about investment opportunities. I think one of the key things that has been highlighted is the issue of finance and investment. So please come up, sir, and address us. And thank you so much for your patience.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for this opportunity to the Minister and her officials as well, and for the leadership of the NSBE. Speak about the role of finance and investment in getting the economy going. Because if we thought about the questions that were being raised earlier on, it's really about the fact that We have the engineering talent, we have the human talent as a country, but yet at the same time, we have very high levels of unemployment. We're not creating wealth, jobs at the rates that we really need to. And why is that? Now, one of the real reasons for this, if we step back and we think about the National Development Plan, which the country had adopted over 10 years ago, was to say that we as a country need to be investing 30% of our GDP every year in fixed investment. Infrastructure, which the DBSA plays a role in, but other elements of fixed investment as well. Now, we were never really able to achieve that rate, but of late, that figure has been dropping to below 20%, down to about 17%. High-growth countries like China were investing at over 40%. India was investing in that 30% range. For us to get our economy going again and create jobs for everyone, including Black engineers, that's what's needed. And the DBSA, as the leading development financier in the country and in the region, focused on infrastructure, including sectors like water and sanitation, human settlements that the minister is responsible for. For us, that is a critical requirement. Just a little bit about ourselves, and then I can talk a little bit about also the work that we've been doing in the water and sanitation space, but then spend the time focusing on what we believe are some of the solutions to the challenges that the minister herself raised. She spoke about the fact that there's help needed in local government, that we need a project pipeline, and those two elements are ones that we believe we at the DBSA are well placed to support with, but obviously working together with the NSBE and with your members as well. I'm proud to say in the last year, even during the height of COVID, we were able to do 13.5 billion rands worth of lending into the real economy. The majority of that, about 65% in South Africa, the remaining 35% in the rest of the African continent. The sectors we invest in are all within the infrastructure sectors where the NSBE members play a crucial role, whether it be energy, transport and logistics, water and sanitation. As an example, we just signed a 5.5 billion rand long tenor 20-year loan with the TCTA for the rollout of the second phase of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. This is part of a broader 15 billion rand loan that we worked with commercial banks on. And so that speaks to one of the critical water and sanitation projects that the country needs. We're also working, as we speak, with TCTA. We're providing project preparation capital for the Mkomazi Water Project. And that was something that Prof spoke about. It's an area that he comes from. That's, again, a multi-billion rand project. Another one being the Olifants River Project, where we provided an approval for 7.5 billion rands 2 years ago. Now, the challenge is, even though that approval happened 2 years ago, the funding hasn't been rolled out, which means jobs aren't being created. So it's part of the way there, but not all the way where we need to be. What we're seeing as the biggest challenge, but also the opportunity is, on the one hand, on the bulk water side, under the minister, we are seeing significant progress happening. The Lesotho Highlands Water Project is up and running. As we said, we've just signed the 15 billion rand. We know that some of our other development banking partners, the African Development Bank and the New Development Bank, are also going to be providing funding for that project. So that's good news. And we see TCTA stepping up, working with Infrastructure South Africa, which is the office in the presidency being run by Dr. Ramahopa. Also, we've set up an infrastructure fund to help provide blended financing to get those projects happening. So the good news, we believe, is in bulk water, there is progress, and the minister and her department really need to be commended for the work that they're doing in moving ahead in that area. Where we do see a significant challenge, and this is where each and every one of us feel it, is more within municipal government. And as the minister correctly stated, it's municipal government and municipal water entities that are responsible for the water and sanitation that each and every one of us feel on a day-to-day basis. And the reality is, many of those entities simply don't have the capacity, don't have the governance, and now the engineering skills and the financial ability to deliver on their mandates of treating water and of delivering clean piped water to our people. Why is that? Well, we can debate around it, but many of us do realize the fact that it's not something that we weren't able to do before. So clearly there has been a breakdown in governance and in the ability to do this. Now, one of the solutions that we as DBSA is putting forward there is to replicate some of the lessons from the successful energy program in South Africa. Now, again, under the president, there's been renewed energy, if I can put it that, in that sector. We, for instance, have supported a number of projects in the risk mitigation IPP that's going to bring in 2,000 megawatts. As we speak now, we're looking at 50 different projects for renewable energy under the 5th round of the Renewable Energy IPP program. Together, those are going to bring 4,600 megawatts of additional power in the next 2 to 3 years into the grid. The same program had brought 6,000 megawatts of renewable power already into the grid or under construction. Now, the lessons from that is if you have a number of things coming together, we can solve problems at a sectoral level. And one of that is to have a technocratic project management office, in that case an IPP office, that's able to ensure that the best projects are identified, supported, and selected. That then creates hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs. And we think a similar program can be applied at the local government level to help local government to build, manage, and operate critical water infrastructure. So we've now set aside 60 million rands as a program management facility to set up a PMO, project management office, to bring together the key stakeholders, whether it be from human settlements, from water and sanitation, from COCTA, from National Treasury, and crucially, from the municipalities themselves, to come up with a solution whereby these assets can be built, operated, and maintained where necessary by third parties, including private sector entities that have the skills to be able to manage this. Now, that's going to create opportunities because if we can replicate the success of the IPP program, we can, on the one hand, solve for this critical problem, but do it in a way that creates jobs for our people and for Black business as well. And that's something that finance has to be proactive about. So if we look now at the renewable energy program, some of those projects now have 50% greater Black ownership, and these are multi-billion rand projects, many of them. And capital is being deployed towards empowering Black South Africans in the ownership and in the operations of these assets. And we can do the same thing in the water sector. We just need to be creative and thoughtful about how do we bring together the different stakeholders to allow this to happen. If I can speak a little bit as well around some similar benefits we are seeing in human settlements, given the minister's oversight over that area. It's a new area for us. The DBSA entered this area in the last year. And I'm proud to say already we've got 20 projects on the go that we're looking at, all of which have more than 50% Black ownership. Many of them have significant Black female ownership as well. And these are projects where the government is providing a grant for rental housing, but it's a private sector entity, Black-owned private entities that have done the design work, have acquired the land, will do the construction, and will do the property management as well. At the same time, providing access to housing for working-class South Africans who are making anywhere from 1,500 rands a month up to 15,000 rands a month, and giving them access to decent housing for themselves, their families, secure housing, 3-story walk-ups in most cases, typical unit size of 500 to 1,000 units. So again, it's a situation of government working with private sector, including Black private sector and financiers, commercial banks, but also DFIs like the DBSA, the NHFC, which is the National Housing Finance Corporations, and other entities in trying to bring about solutions to a critical problem that the country is facing. So again, we need to thank the minister, we need to thank the Department of Human Settlements for the work they're doing. In reality, we think there could be a lot more that's been done. We are falling behind against the 3-year targets that have been set. And there are various challenges, including the lack of bulk infrastructure at the municipal level, which is preventing that housing from taking off. So it's not to say that the problems aren't there as well, but there are solutions. So I guess, I just want to end with the statement that government plays a very, very important role in unlocking these problems. The private sector, the technical specialists are here. We want to make a difference. We, as a development bank, as the TBSA, we're lucky in that we have 100 billion rand asset base. We're able to allocate 15 billion rands plus of our own money per year. But most of that money is also leveraged with 3-4 rands for every 1 rand we invest from other private investors, institutional investors who manage our pension funds, commercial banks as well. So the capital is also here in the country. We're actually one of the only countries in the African continent that's able to invest in infrastructure at long tenors in our own currency. So whatever happens to the ZAR, the rand against the dollar, doesn't really matter to us. The third of the work that we do in the rest of the continent, all that infrastructure is funded in dollars and euro. We sit with over 10 trillion rands of long-term capital that can be deployed towards this infrastructure. So, and I guess this is where the partnership is needed across different areas of government. And it's not just a national government issue. It is very much a local government issue as well. And reality is, based on our constitution, you can't force the local government to do anything. They are their own sphere of government. We have to provide incentives. Maybe it's a question of carrot and sticks to get them to the table as well, but also provide solutions that do work on the ground. Solutions like the IPP program in the energy sector. We've done something similar, by the way, in student housing as well, to bring together universities, the Department of Higher Education and Training, National Treasury through their NSFAS program, to come up with long-term capital to make a dent into the 300,000 student bed gap that exists in the country. So there are lessons we can take from those other programs and apply it towards water and sanitation, especially at the local government level. Because I do believe we're starting to move at the bulk water level already, and that's to be commended. So we stand ready to work with the NSBE, but definitely with the minister as well, and her department, her officers, in seeing how do we come up with solutions to solve for these critical problems that the country faces, but also great opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohan, and Tsepo. Thank you so much as well. We acknowledge your presence and support here. So thank you so much for that. So the message that I got is that there's definitely funding. When they talk about billions and trillions, the finance side of me just goes, yeah, come on, bring it on, But for the right level of development. Not 9.8 billion rand of irregular expenditure that has been picked up by the auditors, the Auditor General, in terms of some of the expenditure irregularities happening within the department. That's 9.8 billion rand of opportunity that has been missed, to some extent. So thank you so much for giving us insight into what's been happening, and all the best to DBSA in terms of your endeavors and being part of the development of our country. So we do appreciate the work that you and your team do at DBSA, and for partnering with NSBE on celebrating excellence and the role of engineers. So thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've had quite a bit that we've covered today. And I just want to thank all of our speakers for taking us through the journey that they have taken us through. We are sort of half an hour behind sort of time, where we initially thought we would be out of here now to transition. But I'd like to give an opportunity to Ntabiseng Kuno from the NSBE to come and do the official sort of closing for us. And then we'll be on our merry way. So please put our hands together as she comes up to address us. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, advisors to the Minister, Director Generals, NSBE past presidents, and our current president, Mdum Laba, NSBE members, and the rest of the delegates, our distinguished guests, and everyone streaming live. Dumelang, Sanbonani Abche. As introduced by the program director, my name is Ntabise Nkuno from NSBE. I'm an electrical engineer and a project manager. I hope you've all enjoyed the informative seminar our committee organized for you today. It's my honor and privilege now to give a vote of thanks to all those who helped this seminar happen. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude, not excluding anyone, to the Minister of Human Settlement, Water and Sanitation, Ms. Lindiwe Sisulu. Thank you for making the time to join us and engaging the Black engineers on issues that affect this country and the proposal by NSBE to serve South Africa. To the personal advisors to the Minister Ndibuo Mabaya and Advocate Menzi Simelane, I am grateful for your service. Thank you to Mbulelo Changana, Director General of Human Settlement, Deborah Mchotli, Acting Director General for Water and Sanitation, and the entire leadership team in the Department of Human Settlement, Water and Sanitation. We would not be here without the generosity of the DBSA. Thank you to the entire leadership team of the development of Southern Africa for sponsoring this prestigious event. To the speakers, Lerato, thank you for the poetic opening and the welcoming message. Mdu, the president of the NSBE, thank you for the frank speech directed to the minister about the future of Black engineers in South Africa and worldwide. Thank you for your leadership. And like you said, it's important to us as Black engineers to make a positive impact in our communities. And I personally believe that charity begins at home. And to Prof. Togozani Majozi, thank you for acknowledging the progress that our government has made in rural areas, which is an NSBE aspiration to make the impact in our local government and in South Africa at large. Dr. Lucky Matebula, you hit the nail on the head, regarding the impact of socio-economic transformation and the important role engineers play at the base of all social problems. Lwazi Godwana, your energy, we felt it. Yes, there's an opportunity for local engineers to be utilized in solving problems in the Department of Human Settlement, Water and Sanitation, because water is life and sanitation is dignity. And we cannot afford to waste this opportunity to develop our country. And the key message is, Minister, si ready. And everyone, please share and make use of the Lula Biz Hub, as we saw earlier. To the Honorable Minister, we would like to thank you, and we appreciate your acknowledgement that your department is happy to collaborate with NSBE to resolve the situation in our country. And NSBE is ready to take its rightful space in the South African community. Indeed, the future is engineering. And that, Honorable Minister, you need NSBE to support the local municipalities, given the shortage of skills in the relevant areas, to train young engineers and take advantage of the VAL situation as our first assignment. Your message is well received. Mohan Vivekanandan, thank you for highlighting the reality that we have in the local government, particularly the municipal entities, and surely there's an opportunity in that space for the NSBE to showcase our skills. And I'd also like to thank the NSBE past presidents for being here. Cyril Gamede, Mlamuli Buthelezi, thank you for your contribution. Sipho Madonsela, Caesar Mtetwa, thank you to the NSBE NEC, to the members of NSBE in good standing, and the rest of the delegates. Thank you to Vuyani Gatlama for representing the Vice President of the Institute of Municipal Engineering of Southern Africa today here. And I would like to acknowledge everyone that could not make it to this event due to various reasons, especially the adherence to COVID-19 rules and protocol. I would like to thank everyone that was involved in making this seminar a success. I acknowledge all your efforts and the time that you spent coordinating this event. Thank you, Mueli, for directing the proceedings of this seminar. That was a job well done. And, and like Lerato said about consistency being key, consistency to engagements in forums such as these will advance the awareness of the value and importance of Black engineers in this country. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be here today and for listening to me speak. I am so grateful for this opportunity. Have a great weekend.
All right. I'm not going to say much more, but thank you so much to everyone. Well done to NSBE for the past 23 years. Onwards to the next 23 years, and to the members of NSBE and those considering becoming members of NSBE. I think this is a good time and a good opportunity.